Hello, dear audience. Before we dive into this chapter, I wanted to note some disclaimers and content warnings for your awareness. There will be the usage of background music and sound effects that will recreate the effect and illusion of jump scares. Further content warnings include minor gore, body horror, frightening and intense scenes, grief, trauma, loss of a loved one, depression, dark themes, potential NPC death, potential character death, cults, cult activity, supernatural stalking, illusions and altered realities, eldritch horror, general feelings of unease and uncanny behavior, and descriptions of drowning or drowned bodies. Viewer discretion is advised. Thank you, my dear audience, and now enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Melancholy We Weave. I am your storyteller for this evening, Ambrose. I go by any all pronouns. And tonight we will be telling this tale of horror using the game Quietus by Ollie Jeffrey of Sinister Beard Games. This series is a melancholic horror anthology in which each chapter will be following different pairs of characters with backstories dripping with heartache, guilt, grief, and sorrow. These unfortunate main characters are actively trying to push past their traumas while utilizing scars within their own psyche to combat an unknown horror that pursues them. Just so you know what you're getting into here, dear audience, these are not stories about heroes or overcoming some great evil with the power of will. This will be about broken and hurting individuals clawing out of the depths of an unknown nightmare by the skin of their teeth. Will hope tease out of their grasp, or will they be able to elude dread before it consumes them? We turn the page on this anthology and land on our latest tale, Chapter 8, When the Light Breaks. After they lost their partner from an accidental fall during a hiking trip, Olive is left winded and without aim in their life. They distance themselves from all their friends and family they shared, unable to avoid the questions and contempt in their eyes. They go from gig to gig, not staying anywhere for long before they find themselves taking on the role of the lighthouse keeper in a small seaside town, and with that comes some level of respect, as well as seclusion. Despite the rest and the need of distance, Olive finds that they can't get the cause of their heartache out of their head. Perhaps this wasn't the right call, or maybe healing is a longer journey than they thought it would be. Regardless, there are now weird sounds that can be heard late at night. Something scratching against a rock. Nightmares of watery depths and long shadowy limbs reach forward and pull them under, plaguing their mind during their slumber. And they can't seem to get this odd visitor to the lighthouse out of their head. Why does their presence unsettle them so? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, audience. Everything's gonna be okay, all right? Like, grief in general does hit us in certain ways, so maybe just a good sleep, maybe getting some fresh air, going out, taking in the sights of that small town, right, Olive? But before we even jump into that, before we introduce Olive, let's introduce Rue. Rue, care to introduce who you are, your pronouns, your character, and their pronouns, in a short sentence about the nightmare you had in this isolated place?
Hello, my name is Rue. I use they, he, or z pronouns. And this time period zone, I almost said evening, and then I was like, I don't know what time it is. uh,
That's
I
valid.
will be I will be playing Olive Whitecrow, who uses they them pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
And could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. Tell me about the last nightmare you had in this isolated place.
It's one of those dreams where at first you're not aware that you're dreaming. You get up and start going through your day like it's your normal day, and walking down the spiral staircase of the lighthouse at the bottom, on the bottom floor where the door to the lighthouse is, where usually there's sort of an intake desk and all manner of things that are essentially there for when people come to visit the lighthouse for one reason or another. all of that has been replaced by surging water and rock. And no matter what happens, I can't stop walking down the staircase, even though I see that the water is surging upwards. And when the water touches the bottoms of my feet, I see that rather than regular water, it's the brackish red of blood.
Mm-hmm. You have no idea how perfect that tale was. I love that. Amazing. So let's not wait too long, audience. We're gonna jump right into it. So, without further ado, let us continue. You are submerged. Water fills your lungs, but you don't feel the drowning. You don't feel the burning need for air. You feel serene, even though, logically, you know you shouldn't feel that way. Your eyes are unfocused, caught between locking onto something happening in front of you and closing them because you want peace to go back to sleep. Sleep has been pretty hard these days. Is this a dream? Well, nightmare like all the others. Or is this something you should actually be terrified of? The ocean waters flow and rush around you, a feeling of being pulled forward, but not by waves or currents, but by some form of external force. Appendages slither and wrap around your arms and torso. The feeling of being between unfocus and loss vanishes. Your attention sharpens as you blink, focusing through the waters. You think you can see the surface of the ocean where you are. The beam of light can be made out, its view warped by the bend of water. Lighthouse light. Your lighthouse. Duty. The warmth of its glow starts to falter, dim and flicker. A sense of dread follows that feeling. Your eyes adjust in front of you to see what grips you and pulls you forward to somewhere dark and cold. A cavern, cave underneath the lighthouse. Shadowy limbs come from within, have seized you in a grip, possessive as it pulls you forward. Within the darkness and the depths, you can just make out something, a shape. You are jostled awake by someone thunderously knocking at the front of the lighthouse door. You're in your loft. Sun is blazing into your eyes. It's like you were interrupted during a movie, but a very terrifying movie. Jump scares made outside be damned. But that thundering knock is happening. You can hear a muffled voice. It sounds kind of familiar. But you're just waking up and you cannot place it. Olive, as you're rolling around on your what futon or like a elevated bed, I feel like it's very like
Yeah,
just
kind of
slightly
like,
elevated.
yeah, like, if you ever seen those like naval cot style beds where it's
Yeah,
kind of like a wood frame that's like 6 inches off the ground so that if it's wet, you don't get wet, and that's
exactly
basically
that. That's
it.
like what I'm thinking. I forgot what it's called, but like it is literally like an elevated, just enough
Yeah,
to be considered a bed, but really,
but really,
um, and as you look around and you're torn between like going back to sleep, being grumpy from being awake, and you lift up. Can you describe what you look like?
yeah. Olive is about 5'6", sort of like a medium, like medium complexion, but the most important thing about their complexion is that they are covered in tattoos. Essentially, neck down, all skin covered in tattoos down to their fingertips. There doesn't necessarily seem to be a rhyme or reason to all of the tattoos at first glance. They're all different ages. They are done by different artists. Very clearly, like have gathered them over the years. When they wake up, their hair, which is long, about if it wasn't braided, it would go down to about their waist. Braided, it's about halfway down their torso. But their blue hair is kept in a braid so it doesn't get everywhere while they sleep. Um, and sort of like they look, despite the fact that they've just woken up, and perhaps partially because of how they were woken, but also you get the sense this is how they wake up every morning. They look tired. Their eyes are sunken into their face. There's lines around their mouth and their eyes. They look older than they actually are.
Hmm. All right. As you narrow through getting your bearings, remembering where you are, the lighthouse in this seaside town that you found yourself in, you are kind of used to people randomly waking you up at all times of the day, morning, afternoon, and evening. But this really grated on you this time. What do you do? Like how are you handling this? Are you gonna like quickly get dressed, or at least like somewhat like I imagine you're dressed, but like partially decent, like I'm in my
Yeah.
sleeper, and find out who it is, or
Yeah. I think for specifically this kind of reason, they keep a like coat hanging on a hook by the edge of the staircase. So right now they're in their sleep clothes, which is like a cotton tank top and some joggers essentially. But they'll toss the coat on so it to at least look like some kind of decent, like you said. Grumbling the entire time, like under their breath, like this better be important. I don't know what you possibly could need from me at this hour. I don't have any appointments today. I don't think I had any appointments today. um, Making their way down and like rather than a traditional peephole, I assume this has more of like one of those like things that you move out of the way to see out the door, and that would be their first go-to is rather than opening the door, they're gonna look and see who's outside.
yeah. Is it like one of those bigger viewfinders where like you can get a
Yeah.
nice, yeah, I like those. So you do that, you flip it up just so you can see out, and you see like the short cut chestnut brown hair, like short glasses, blue eyes, like pasty skin, even though like we're in a seaside town next to a beach, of a very familiar figure, which is Matt Higgins, the door-to-door salesman, because apparently people still do that. Knocking on your door, and he like is looking into the viewfinder, like, is that you, Olive? How you doing? And you feel the urge to check your watch to see what actually the time is, and you do, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Who starts at 9 o'clock in the morning knocking like that at people's door?
There's like a brief moment where Olive considers like getting the loudest setting possible on their white noise machine and going back to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But also, they know that Matt will find a different way to wake them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they slide the viewfinder back closed and undo the deadbolt on the door and open it like maybe 6 inches. Do you know what time it is?
You see him lean, so you can see like part of his eyes. He's like, "Oh, there you are, Olive. How you doing this morning?"
Well, as of 4 minutes ago, I was asleep.
Hmm. It doesn't look like you were sleeping. It looks like you were awake all hours of the night. Maya suggests that we have a really good set for that. And he pulls out his travel case. It has, you see little bottles, and it's very much like essential oils and like a diffuser. But it looks like a travel kit of it, like perfectly put together. So like if someone wants to whip this out really quick wherever they're going, you can take it in wherever you want, any time of day. I would suggest you do something for the sleepy time one I have right here.
You know, I don't really, I'm not supposed to have any kind of like fire or heating implements in here. It's a really old building. A lot of the structures are wood.
Oh.
Best not to
No worries
make
then.
any.
I don't know about tea, but I know you have a kettle in there. But I do also have different types of tea, specifically sleepy time, just for you. And he just like goes through as well. Doesn't leave. It's
No.
just like making himself comfortable at the front of your lighthouse.
After about 5 minutes of him opening different boxes of tea and telling them about the many
Mhm.
health properties that they definitely have,
Absolutely.
Olive like holds up a hand and is like, "How much is the tea?"
Oh. Well, for this kit right here, it's about $50. If you want the whole thing, it's about 150. I could do a deal for it though, and I can knock it down to 120. How about that for the whole thing?
Let's start with the $50 one,
All right.
and I'll see if it works.
All right. So at the end, we have the golden latte ashwagandha, and like he like goes through and like puts it together, makes a little kit, passes it through. Like he's like, "Are you gonna open that up a little bit more, darling?"
Just like opens the door to the point where like if he wanted to, he could step in, but like
Mhm.
not like a fully open door, like halfway open, and then just let me get my wallet, and I will pay you, and then
Okay.
I will try your tea.
Absolutely. And he just like stands at the door but does not enter. He just is holding the tea packet, looks around, and doing wonderful with the place.
Oh, thanks. You can come in if you need to.
I'd rather not.
All right, fair enough.
No offense to you. Just between you and me. This lighthouse gives me the creeps.
You're not the first person to tell me that. Apparently, that's part of the reason my predecessor isn't around anymore, but it's not
What
the
was their
creepiest
name
place
again?
I've lived.
I don't quite remember.
My predecessor?
Yeah. I mean, I was here when they were around.
I mean, I don't know. By the time I got here, the place had been empty about a week.
I'll check it out later. I am curious. I can see them clearly in my mind, but it's not hidden for some reason. But yes. Definitely you should try the sleepy time tea. Definitely.
Well, I'm awake now, so I might as well stay awake, but I'll give it a try this evening.
All right, and then like you like get cash, like cash
Yeah.
in hand. Give him
I am
50.
not giving this man a credit card.
That's cool. That is so fair. So like y'all make the exchange at the doorway. Can you roll for me, please?
Yeah. 4.
4. Choose left version. Nothing bad happens, but it's all good. So then you do the passing, and you see that when you pass between like the doorway, in terms of him handing you something and you giving something. There's like this weird static of electricity that kind of passes, or like just this weird feeling, as you pass through the doorway, not even touching him, but just like that passing. And then like you're like, okay, that was a little weird, but you kind of take it as like, static, like you rubbing up against something. Like, weird.
Yeah.
And he kind of has the same reaction, like, oh, electrical charge. You know what those are things about? I don't know what that's actually about. Don't ask me that question. But I heard that, charging electricity between people meant to talk more often. Eh?
Maybe. But I don't leave this place much and it gives you the creeps, so
Well, maybe you should try to leave this place more often. There's diners, there's different like restaurants, there's a whole bunch of stores out there. You can meet me at my home turf.
do you have a storefront?
Give or take. That's where all of us other salesmen meet up, is the best way to put it.
Okay.
Gotta talk to our boss. Like, re up on our supplies. You know what I mean?
No, but I'm gonna nod and say that I do.
Right. So, it was good doing business with you. Thank you for the 50. Please have some of that tea. It'll do wonders for sleep. Take care, all. Like,
Thank you,
salutes
Matt.
and salutes and walks away. And this man, who either every day or every other day, or at least 3 times a week, you definitely see him, comes to try to sell you something. And sometimes it works just for the sheer amount of him doing it over and over and over again. And other times, like, you're just, but I still have the supply from last time, so I'm good. The first thing about Matt that you've always wondered, and it's kind of weird, is like he talks a little weird. Like he talks a little out of time, and it's very much like a old time salesperson or vaudevillian vibe. And you're like, wow, like it does kind of work. It does leave an impression in my head. But he's a very interesting, weird guy. But everyone around here is kind of weird. Just not Matt's brand of weird. Like knocking at 9 o'clock in the morning to sell me tea, or oils, to help me go to sleep. You close the door behind you, take your tea. Are you going to actually drink it, or are you just going to be like, okay, now I'm awake. What do I do? Like,
So,
what are your plans?
first off, I have a cabinet in the little like kitchenette area of because I imagine the like ground floor is the like people come in here space, and then the loft is all of the living space. There's like a little kitchenette and a little bathroom, and there's a cabinet in that kitchenette that is exclusively things that I have bought from Matt. Um, and I open it, and inside there's like some lotions, there's some skincare products, there is a different kind of tea, like a different brand, whatever other brand he was selling 3 weeks ago. And so I just sort of place this tea box amidst the other ones and think about it for a little while. And, well, if I remember to have it tonight, maybe I'll try it. And then I close the cabinet and promptly turn around.
All
Um,
right. So you look at your collection of things from Matt, and you're like, I probably will use it, probably never ever again after this point. Turn back to your lighthouse on the lower floor. What are your plans for the day?
what day of the week is it?
It's a good question. Let's say it's Tuesday.
All of the weekdays, Olive starts their day with sort of a check of all of the basic mechanical parts of the lighthouse. They don't pretend to necessarily understand how the mechanical parts work, but they were given a list of things that mean the various parts aren't working, and therefore when they need to call a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sort of once they, wash their face and become a little bit more of a human person, uh, that's their first order of business, is going all the way up to the top to check all of the mechanisms and make sure that the lamps aren't burning out and those sorts of things. Um, because, as evidenced by Matt, but also it's a weekday, anyone could stop by for a surprise school trip or some sort of other calling. And so Olive wants to make sure that everything is in working order so that if someone does show up, it's not like, come back later, the lighthouse is broken.
Okay, so you're checking things out, kind of keeping the maintenance, especially like making sure the light is still functional. That is the most important part. Um, Instilled in you by literally anybody that told you, like, hey, make sure this thing stays how it is. Um, let's say that you got ready for the day, probably changed out, whether you kept parts of your sleepwear on and then like just put on things that were a little bit more functional for doing any kind of labor, or just full on like anything just for labor, you did that. And as you're going through and you're doing the basic maintenance for the early morning afternoon, can you roll for me?
Yeah. 5.
5. Okay. So you do that just fine. Everything seems to be working as functional. You do notice something though when you're looking at the bulb of the lighthouse, which is like a larger bulb of sorts. There is some effort required if anything were need to happen to be changed. But you do notice that like there's it's not like a crack, but it looks like there's some form of creeping shattering happening at the base of the bulb a little bit. It's a little concerning, but it's not to the point where you have to replace it. It could just be like there's like some wear on it, or like it might be crushing slowly. A little weird, because this is relatively new, from what you remember, what was told to you about it. But you're like, okay, weird. But it's not to the point where you have to replace it yet. But you might want to note it, and see how it goes, from this point on. You might also note that like it's not really something that would happen unless somebody did something to it. So like kind of, hey, someone might have leaned against it, or that, not like someone like took a bat to it kind of situation. It's just more like, oh, some kind of interference might have happened that caused this. But as far as you know, you're the only one here that would do something like that. So note it, put it in your notes, for your log. Otherwise, you go back to what you were doing. You do all those things. You make breakfast for yourself, something quick, something filling, something that, what is her name? Flora, the harbor master, won't yell at you for, like, oh, that's nothing to eat. Like, what are you talking about? Have some eggs, have some toast, have some, like, something filling, not like a Snickers or anything like that. You can hear her in your head, the kind of situation, because that's how many times she scolded you about, please at least eat and take care of yourself. We can't look for another lighthouse keeper if you're gone, kind of situation. So after you do that, you eat. What do you do for the afternoon and evening time?
Usually, if there's nothing pre-planned happening, um, I will sort of bring out from inside of the like one of those like big wooden chests. There's an easel and a variety of painting supplies and sketching supplies. And so once all of my tasks are done, and I've taken the time to make all of my notes, both about the lighthouse and the light and how it might be cracking, and also about Matt. And I add a little note to my personal ledger of like $50 tea.
Make a little face next to it, like really. But even though he grinds your gears, that is at least someone that you see regularly, a person you see regularly. You're not entirely sure if he does this because I need money, or hey, this is my excuse to check in on you. You get that vibe from some people that do this, but you can't really tell with Matt because he's a personality. So you take out your easel. Was this like is this like watercolors? Is this like oil paint? Like,
Uh, so presently working on acrylic. Olive prefers oil paints, but this close to the ocean, an oil painting will never
that's fair.
dry. And
Hmm.
so there are a couple of unfinished and will never be finished oil paintings like abandoned in the corners of their room where they started them and then realized they would never be able to do the layering that they wanted. And so there's just kind of wet oil paintings in the corners.
Oh boy. Always wet. Okay, cool. And then you're like, I will ask two questions. One, what is the last subject matter of one of those oil paintings that you did?
The last subject matter of the last oil painting that they did, which was probably about 2 weeks after they got here, was Olive tried to paint the like sun rising from the view, like from the lighthouse, like the view that they see from the lighthouse when the sun rises.
All right, cool. Thank you. Now, what are you focusing on doing today? Like, what are you painting today?
Today, I'm still sort of like feeling the lingering sort of like lack of focus that I was feeling during the nightmare. And so I'm trying to capture that on canvas. So there's an object that's close to the like foreground of the painting that is trying to draw focus, but a bunch of tendrils and flickers of light throughout the background of the painting that make it impossible to actually see.
Interesting. All right. Roll for me.
That's a 1.
Oh man. Okay. Hmm. I'm just gonna take my dread. Thank you. And all right, cool.
Have
So
some free
you're
painting dread.
it's a free painting dread. So you're painting. You're trying to like that state of like kind of softening your eyes so that like you see like a bit of an unfocused environment. I'm trying to capture that moment and also trying to capture those tendrils that you saw, which they seemed kind of wispy, kind of shadowy, but had mass, but you never could fully see what it was made of, just from your dream alone. And I would say you're focusing on a point. This is like on the loft or the lower level. Is this the loft?
Loft.
Okay. You're focusing across the room where your desk is through the windows that look out. And you find yourself getting a little lost. Like something took over as you're painting. It's a meditative state of sorts. And you're used to that, but this feels like you're not yourself. It feels kind of like an out of body experience a little bit. And actually, you open your eyes and you are having an out of body experience. You can see you're standing in the center of your room and you realize, oh, I was sitting a second ago, wasn't I? And you turn and you see you staring at the painting, painting away. Lifeless eyes as you go. And you're like, hey, what the fuck? You go up and you go around the shoulder of you to see what you're painting. And you see same image of what you're looking at, like nicely sketched out, like not fully filled in with color yet, but you're getting the vibe of it. And through the windows, those windows that are solid, kind of hard to open, look shattered now. The wisps of the black, the shadow, are creeping in, have broken through, have reached in. Perspective of the painter at that painting. You're not that great at foreground, background vibes. So this looks like it's becoming more and more real as you, maybe you, is painting this. And then it gets more jagged. You're getting more jagged with your painting. You're getting more like fervent, trying to make it come into fruition. It's like it's trying to focus more on the appendage reaching forward through the painting more than anything. than the actual edges. Roll again.
3.
I feel like that is another failure, actually. Yeah, that it was. Dread goes up again. Luckily, everything's fine. No despair has been increased yet, but things are gonna get kind of creepy. Um, you feel the urge to try to, like, this isn't good. If this keeps going, is the dread that you're feeling as it's like starting to creep in. And you reach for it and you feel the solidness of your own shoulder, and you're like trying to jerk yourself awake, and they are not registering you. And it's like the center of the picture is starting to gain more color, like dipping back into the paints faster and faster and faster. And it's faster than you know you're capable of to process these colors. It's like colors that personally you wouldn't know how to mix together to like make these interesting tones. So it's like the outer edges are like just the sketch, the basic structure, and then as you get closer to the center where all these wisps are gathering, aiming for the painter, is the most beautiful collection of color that you know of in a most frightening display. And you try to jostle yourself awake, and it doesn't seem to be working, and you're painting faster and faster and faster and faster. Roll again.
5.
Amazing. The painting keeps going faster, faster, and then stops as it's almost look to the fine point with their brush. And then they turn to look at you with unseeing eyes. Then you both blink. And you're staring at your canvas, that fine point. And you see that those appendages have more solidness to it. Like it just started, like again, a mass of black, and you're not sure what it is yet, but it seems like colors and texture were made that kind of are starting to take on more of a what was it, like a effervescent, more of a iridescent quality at the edges, anyway. But you stopped yourself before you can figure out what that was turning into. Best way to put it is like it's like a sensor. Something was being blocked as you're trying to figure out what this is, and your brain can only process it as whatever these wisps are.
I'm going to take the painting off of the easel. It's still wet, so
Mhm.
my hands are getting paint on them as I do this. And place it like up against the wall to dry. Because there's something that is more upsetting about it being on my easel and having to remember that experience than just having the painting itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the sense that I have done this kind of thing before, but not necessarily to this like extent.
No, this is the first time it was this disembodied, to be honest. Like, yeah, you've had moments where you're like, you're lost in the creative sauce, where like you're, oh yeah, I'm gonna paint this. Like you're in that mode of what you're painting. And it always does come out kind of different than you were expecting. Like it's always like, oh, I'm painting my surroundings, but there's something happening in the background, or there's something that's like slightly different. But over time, it has gotten more like urgent and more obvious. This one is the most obvious. This one is the most disconnected you felt. You literally saw yourself. And you're not sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're not sure how to take that. You're not sure, like, hey, do I need to go to sleep? Like, oh, is it because I haven't been sleeping well? Like, I don't have that many hours of sleep on a regular basis. It could be something like that. But even my whole life, like I have never like regardless of how sleep deprived I've been, I have never just disconnected from myself like this. And you're kind of looking, stepping back, looking at the painting, tilting your head, and then there's a knock on your door again downstairs. This time it's not urgent, it's not demanding, it's not salesman knocking vibes. But you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but like, do you know everyone's knock that comes to knock on your door kind of situation?
If they've come more than once or twice, yeah,
All right, so
because
this
it
knock is
lets
urgent, but like more like demanding attention, but it's very succinct and to the point, like three knocks. Doom, doom, doom.
just sort of like much like this morning when they had to gather themselves from being awoken. Now they're sort of trying to gather themselves from coming out of this out of body experience. Um, Arguably, they look worse than they did this morning, because there's some like bloodshotness to the eyes. They're still covered in paint.
Oh my
Their
god.
hands are covered in paint. There's like splatter on their clothes because while they were out of their own body, they were very into the painting. Um, and so they sort of like brush their hands off on a towel, which doesn't really solve the whole problem, and then head back down the stairs to go and answer the door.
Spiral down the stairs, and then you get to the front door, and you like undo everything, or are you just like doing the whole partial open thing again to see who it is?
Uh, I will like flick the Viewmaster up to make sure before unlocking it.
All right. Based off of the knock, and you guessed right. When you flip it open, you see Flora there. You see twists, like dark brown hair twists, dark skin, um, like honey brown eyes. Those twists are put into like a bun. There's some that are out. You see like overalls, a white shirt underneath it, a jacket over it, um, gloved hands, hands on her hips as she's like looking around. Like she doesn't look impatient. This is just her go-to stance of patience, which she doesn't have any. And she turns her head to look at the viewfinder, seeing that like it's partially open.
Close that and then undo the deadbolt. And as opposed to opening the door 6 inches for Matt, Olive opens the door all the way. Hey, Flora, did I miss an appointment? I don't.
No, you look like shit. First of all,
It's been a rough day.
really. Have you gone out and got any vitamin D? She points to the sun outside, which it's like to you, it's like sizzling as it enters through the small area that you've opened up.
I opened the door this morning when Matt came to sell
We've
me
had
tea.
conversations about this. That's not enough. And I don't care about what that weirdo Matt does. All right. Have you gone out and got breakfast? Gotten
I
some
made
air?
breakfast.
Go for a walk? What'd you eat for
I
breakfast?
scrambled eggs and toast.
That's better. It's a lot better. It's a lot better than just grits or toast with butter and only that all day. But it's now like makes a show of lifting, looking at her watch. It is now 2 o'clock p.m. That means it's lunchtime. So, are we gonna go out and get lunch, or do I have to manhandle you out of this lighthouse?
Uh, we can get lunch. Do you mind if I change my shirt? It's paint.
Like she looks down at you and looks down at your shirt. Did you roll through paint?
No, I was very invested in the piece I was working on.
Say no more. I understand it. I'll be out here. Don't keep me waiting for too long. And then she walks, like, turns back around and walks, and you just see her back as she's looking out. Very picturesque as she's, like, looking around to check just the shore and everything like that as she waits for you.
Yeah. Very quickly, just sort of like toss one. Olive tends to wear like a tank top or a shirt and then a button down over it open. So tosses off one button down, picks up another one, makes sure that it isn't covered in paint or other detritus, and then puts it on overwards and sort of like hurries, like not in a like anxious way, but in a like they know that Flora has made time for them and they do appreciate that kind of way, and so hurries back to the door and opens it and then locks and closes it behind them.
Cool. Then nods at you and then like jerks her jaw as y'all both walk the boardwalk. So like you walk a little bit ways and it takes a little bit of time, let's say 5 to 10 minutes. And you get to see the full sight of this beautiful town. You see people talking, chatting on the beach, people enjoying their time out there. You see people manning their businesses on the other side, talking to each other, chatting it up, discussing, networking, all this other jazz, or just people with their families out and about. It's a sight to be seen and it's beautiful, but also like too everything for you, to be honest. Like too close to what you could have had, too close to previous life, too close to a lot of things that you currently don't want to think about. You know it's not healthy, but healing does take its time and you just don't like that you're healing in this direction, essentially. Or that it's taking whatever length of time more than you thought it would. You keep walking, you go to the boardwalk, and there's like different, like food stands, different. What was it called again? My brain is blanking. What's it called? I know there's food stands, and then there's like pop up shops, and then there's like stuff like that. And very colorful, very lively. People are chatting. And as Flora walks through, a lot of people turn to her and part for her, not in like a fearful way, but more in like a respecting way. Oh, it's Flora, oh my god, like, and stuff like that. She just kind of like whatever, stop it, like, you know, whatever it is. You always got that vibe from Flora, like it lights up a room in a very weird way, not in like the charismatic sort of way, not in like the funny happy go lucky, in the commands respect kind of way. And everyone does give that respect, that distance. And she walks to a fusion stand, like a fusion food stand of some sort. So like kimchi pancakes, which I have been craving for a while.
I'm gonna crave them, thank you.
You're welcome. It continues. And she puts an elbow up on like the register counter area and says, "Give me 2 kimchi pancakes," and then points to you.
Just one for me and some rice, please.
Absolutely, Flora. Olive, it's so good to see you. How are you doing? Says the person at the front.
Pretty good. Lighthouse is staying lit, which is
always good. We love that it's staying lit. Thank you for doing such a good job. Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, otherwise I guess I'll be looking for another job because I didn't do mine very well.
Something like that. And then she turns around and goes back to doing what she was doing, and then Flora just kind of raises an eyebrow at that. Okay. She's a jam.
I mean, it's an important thing. If the lighthouse goes out, a boat might run into the cliff, and that would be bad for everybody, so.
That is true. Just in general, but I always wonder what happened to the other guy.
Speaking of, do you know his name?
Hmm. Mathis? Mathis something. I didn't get to talk to him as much as I'm talking to you, so. He was a lot
Was
for me, personally. But checked in on him every so often. Don't know what happened to him. Just kind of up and left one day.
yeah. My interview didn't mention anything about it. But
Your interview?
it was more of a phone call.
But they didn't interview you, like in person before taking you
No.
down. Oh, okay. How would they know if you knew what you were doing? Wait, did I actually teach you everything that you needed to know?
Yes.
She squints. Well, I'm a great teacher then, but also, yeah, that's a little weird. All right. Well, maybe they just needed somebody. Like, I don't know who wouldn't want to have a nice, cushy gig as a lighthouse keeper, especially if they have experience. But you're doing well outside of not going out and taking care of yourself.
I guess I'm also learning that from you, so
Hmm. Please do it without me being there. For once in my life, I don't want to actually go into your lighthouse, knock at 2 p.m., and see you answer.
I will make an effort to at some point be outside at 2 p.m. so that no one is at the door when you call.
How old are you?
Uh, 32?
32. And a homebody. No, we don't do that, dear sweetie. Okay? Please, take care of yourself. Because I'm not going to be here always. I travel often. I don't get to stop here all the time. And as the mothering stops, or at least someone is stopping the mothering happening, the woman that was getting your food together gives you like your orders. You take it. It smells good. It smells amazing, and she smiles ear to ear. It's bright and a little too perfect. And she nods. Make sure you keep the lighthouse on.
I will, thank you.
And she nods and then goes back to turn back around. Can you roll for me?
4.
Nice. All right. So you do notice it then, which is great. So you turn back around and you're like, "Ooh, this is looking good." And you take a bite out of your pancake and you look up and you notice that everyone on the boardwalk was staring at you, all of them. And then as soon as you look up from your bite, it's like they go back to doing what they were doing. It's one thing if it was like a few people, that were looking at you. Because yes, you have blue hair and pronouns. So whatever. But it was everybody.
Uh, I'm wearing pants, right?
Like, Flora has like the pancake in her mouth and she looks like, yes.
Sorry, I thought everyone was staring and I wanted to make sure it wasn't like those nightmares people have where they leave the house not wearing pants.
And she looks around and it's a little too late to verify because everyone's back to doing what they were doing. Like, I will tell you this. And she starts walking, pats you on the shoulder. It's pretty heavy handed, so you kind of, oh. It's like pats you reassuringly. This town is a little bit weird. I will give you that. They are very nosy about everybody's business, especially outsiders. But they good people. They take care of their own. They take care of you. Maybe give them a chance.
I grew up on a res. I know what nosy is like.
Oh yeah, so do I. Nobody minded their own business. She starts walking, and y'all have like a decent lunch. Talk about everything that you could think of in comfort with her, because you don't want to tell her everything. But you do tell her. Uh, do you tell her about your brother? Like, does she know about your brother?
Yeah, I imagine at least once Ash has called either while she's been around or while she was showing me how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so at the very least, she knows that I have a brother and he calls occasionally.
Awesome. Okay, so she mentions Ash. She like wants to know about like how things are going in terms of the lighthouse, not just functional wise, but like is there anything you need, places you get to get stuff. She tells you about her travels, because she doesn't just stay here; she travels everywhere, kind of situation. So this is not her home base, essentially. She's kind of an honorary villager, I guess is the best way to put it. Um, and it was like an hour or so, and then you part ways and you go back to your lighthouse. And it is becoming late at this time. Um, how are you ending the night exactly?
I it's almost like sort of compulsive to go and look at the two oil paintings and touch them and see that they're still tacky. They've done it every day since they started, and they're hoping that maybe someday those will dry and they can continue working, and they can't. Um, and having done that, just sort of like doing the like even because obviously the lamp of the lighthouse isn't lit during the day. That would be a huge
Yeah, you
waste
make
of
sure you get back before it
everything.
even
Yeah,
like you know when to get back.
yeah.
So
And so first thing is going up and actually turning on the lamp, and making sure that it's going and spinning and doing all of the things it needs to do. Um, and it's something probably that Flora sort of drilled into them. They do that, and then they go all the way back down and they go outside and they view the lighthouse from an external perspective to make sure that something isn't blocking the glass or anything like that. Because just because the light's on inside doesn't mean it's actually shining through as it's supposed to outside.
okay. So you turn the light on, like it's spinning, like the light is brilliant. You try to like not have it shine directly into your face. You know how to avoid that at the very least. And you go outside to make sure that it's functioning as intended. You kind of reminiscent of Flora's pose of like, okay, yeah, yeah. But this is more just to lean back and look up. And as you're doing that, you hear a very meek voice call to you. Uh, hey, Olive.
Oh. Is this Jane?
This is Jane. Jane is there holding like kind of like it's like a how you like 8 by it's an 8 by 11 sketchbook, so it's like about a little bit smaller than her like a little bit smaller than her chest. Has it held to her. She has like a sling that probably has all of her equipment in it in terms of painting and or sketching. She has uh, vibrant blonde hair, very like it's a little frizzy. I was gonna say and it's kind of curly and frizzy. Some strands are out, but like the rest of it is in a bun. Um, and she has vibrant green eyes. And a very nice smile, like just very sweet. Probably 5'5", 5'4", and is wearing like a very drapey dress, like very bohemian style, with like sandals because she's on the beach, which makes sense. And she kind of like comes over to you with like her sketchbook in her hands.
Hey, Jane. Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. The sunset is looking lovely right now, so just thought I would sketch it out a little bit. And I know that you're busy and like you stay up there, but I was wondering if you wanted to at some point, either today or tomorrow, set up and do like an art jam of some sort with me.
Yeah. Um, does tomorrow work for you? Sorry, I Matt woke me up to sell me tea this morning, so I've had a bit of a
Oh,
long day.
that's very understandable. I am definitely available tomorrow. It was gonna
Yeah.
be today, tomorrow, and oh, maybe not the day after tomorrow. That might be a bad time, but definitely tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're here either in the daytime or after I've turned the light on, plenty of time to sit and sketch or paint. And you're always welcome to come up onto the dock if you have a better view up here.
hmm I appreciate that. Yeah. I always feel weird without asking, but like, yeah. I also I feel weird about asking people for anything. Really, I'll get over that. But you're doing okay.
I'm doing okay. Like I said, a little tired, but I feel like I'm always at least a little tired, so I guess that's normal.
Have you been having like dreams and stuff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess it's one of those things about people like us, people who draw. We got vivid dreams, huh? Mine have been busy lately.
Can you roll for me?
Ooh.
Hmm. Dread increased to 30 feet. So you don't notice, unfortunately. Like she gives you a look, but you're not sure what that look is. But before you can even kind of register it, she blinks. Is like, yeah, yeah, like creative juices, and like they plague us even in our nighttime hours. Yeah. I gotta go real quick, but I have to drop something off down the ridge. So like she points, and you've never really like, I don't think you've been there. Like you can tell me otherwise, but there's like this part where it's just kind of like water that's accumulated. It's like if this is a lighthouse and it's like on a rocky ridge kind of situation, there's an area around there, but it's kind of hard to walk through to on the other side, especially if like there is, you have to consider the tides, and the walk path might be getting blocked off. So you know from how long you've been here, because it's been a few months that you've been here, you're not sure if it's the right time to go in that direction for her. But she's like, I'm just gonna like drop some stuff off real quick.
Um, are are you sure that the tide's coming in?
Oh no, I know I'm gonna be fine. Don't worry. I'm kind of missing. I was supposed to do something over there, and I forgot to do it. And this is kind of the last time outside of tomorrow that I can. So don't worry, I'll be fine. No worries. Um, she's like, it's good to see
Okay.
you again, and please, uh, take care, and I will see you tomorrow for our jam.
If you don't show up tomorrow, I'm going to go looking for you down there.
Don't worry, I'll be fine. And she like smiles at you. Make sure she picks up all the rest of her like bags that she has and starts like trotting over towards that area. And you just watch her go. Um, you're still kind of a little concerned, but you're like, okay, like she's been here longer than me, so maybe she knows what she's talking about. What do you do? Do you go back to the lighthouse, or are you going to make sure that she's okay? Up to you.
I have had a worrisome enough day, and in general, I am someone who is very sort of nervous around cliffs and rocky ledges and those sorts of things. And so I'm going to grab from inside the lighthouse, sort of like a more like a not like a coat, but like a raincoat, like something that will keep the worst of the wet off. And a walking stick that was here when I got here, and so I figure good to have. The other person probably needed it. I might need it too. And I'm going to follow after her and see. Just I like Olive is telling themselves like just I'm gonna make sure that she makes it to the edge of the ridge, or I'm gonna make sure that she makes it to X point. But they're following her to make sure that she's okay.
Awesome. Okay. So, this is still uneasy. Did you want to, because this is around rocky ledges and edges, did you want to bring in a scar to help you?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, so thank you for prompting me.
Mhm.
Sort of like as they grab the walking stick and like jam it down to the ground the first time to start sort of making the, you know, when you're hopping from rock to rock.
Mhm.
As they do that, it sort of like catches and they have like a moment where they're jarred. Um, and instead of on the edge of this ridge of watery rocks, instead they are close to the peak of a mountain. And they have just sort of planted their walking stick in the ground and have turned to sort of wait for Talia to also finish. And they sort of like catch Talia's eye as she rounds the corner that they just finished. But then walking her walking stick catches on a rock that is not stable, and that rock falls, and the rock that it's next to falls, and with it, Talia goes tumbling over the edge of the cliffside, and no amount of speed could have stopped it. But Olive goes running towards the edge, and all that means is that they watch as Talia crashes and sort of like rag dolls at the bottom.
Mhm. Being near edges, cliffs, faces, even if it's like not that high or the highest point you can think of, it brings this memory back. So, with this element, let's call it, what would you like to call this? Experience climber or never
Yeah.
again? Or like experience climber?
Ooh,
Okay.
I like never again.
Never again? All right, let's do never again. I love that. All right. So, you can now add another dice, but increase your anxiety by 2.
Yes.
And also, you can use this whenever it's relevant without adding more anxiety.
Ooh, thank you. That's a 6.
Yeah. Okay.
The
So
other
you
one was a
guys,
1, I want you to know, so it was really the two extremes.
either the 1 or the 6, and I love when that happens. Like, yeah, I really am glad that I made a pool in this situation. So you grab your coat, get that stick, that walking stick. You're happy that it's here for whoever left it behind. And you start climbing kind of above that walking path because you can go through the other side, go around the lighthouse down a rocky or a path. It's kind of hard to walk, but it is walkable. And you're being careful to like kind of stay out of sight just to keep an eye out, and you do it expertly. Um, and you watch his blonde hair, Shaggy is walking. Um, and you're still going, you're walking, and then you get to a certain point where like, oh hey, actually, yeah, the the tide is in. It is high. Wherever she is planning to go, it doesn't look like she can get to it, and she kind of stops where it is and like looks around for a moment, and you're like, okay, she's not gonna do anything from this point. Like, there's nowhere for her to go. And kind of right where there's a rock blocking your view, you see her take a moment, kind of drop her stuff, like put all the stuff down, and then like you see her pull something out of her sling, and you can't really tell what it is. Just like holding it to her really close to herself. And then it looks like she walks forward, but the rock, like there's like a rock face blocking your view, so you're not sure what she just did because there's nowhere for her to walk. She goes somewhere. You don't hear a splash. You don't hear her struggling to stay above. From this point on, if you want to go like to find out exactly where she is, you're gonna have to make another roll. But otherwise, you're like, okay, it's either that or you wait for her to come back to see if she does.
I'm going to sort of drop down to where the path that she was on and see if I can't follow her. So I will roll again.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. So you're gonna like full on drop down and figure out what's going on. Okay, cool. I love that for you. So you can use never again again.
Okay.
This will apply.
5.
5, good. So still in passing. Um, so you stumble a little bit, and there's some like rock bits that fall. You hear the crumble. And you're careful to like land in areas where there's like no, not like high levels of water, but it's not like you're gonna sink where you are. And you go around and curve around these rock formations that have formed. And you go around a rock face to see exactly where she might have gone, where her bags are, and you see from that point on there's just nothing but water. You don't see her. You're not sure where she went.
But her stuff is still there?
It's like the water isn't disturbed in a way where someone, and even if she was like fighting to swim or whatever, you would see her.
Yeah. I'm going to go like right to where her stuff is and just sort of like look down into the water because I can't see her, but I want to see if there's like some sort of like really deep hole or something that she might have fallen into.
Like it's just a normal like depth, right? Like it is like the height of a person or
Yeah.
two. Is like how high it is, but no. There is like a walking path on the other side of water, but you don't see her. So roll for me again. This one's just a single because you're not using
Yeah.
never again, unfortunately.
4.
4. You're seeing. You look down at her stuff and you see like in one of the bag that she had, um, that it's like one of those like shopping bags kind of situation that you give like
Mm-hmm.
so like those reusable ones,
Yeah.
very eco-friendly, seem like her type.
Canvas.
Canvas, and there's plastic like in it, and in the plastic you see this red liquid, kind of like blood, but not human blood, probably like an animal blood of some sort, so like either poultry or duck or something like that. So like meat was in the bag, maybe. But that's what it looks like if you went to the grocery store and you opened like the wrapping for it. That's what it looks like might have been in there. But it's not there anymore and it's fresh from what you can tell. And you're wondering like, is that what she just like took out? Like food? Like raw food?
Very sort of like anxious and confused, but also fully aware that I have duties and responsibilities that I have to get back to. I can't wait here for someone who might come back or who might just have walked away from their backpack. I'm going to sort of make sure that the bag with her art supplies is up on a rock that won't be covered when the tide comes in. Like, you know how you can tell because parts of them that are always dry, you can tell they've never been under the tide. I'm going to make sure that anything that like water would damage is up on that. Um, but other than that, um, after like a very like heavy 5 minutes of self uh sort of like battling with themselves, Olive decides that they should go back to the lighthouse and make sure that everything is okay
Mm-hmm.
up there.
So yeah, you wait for like 5 minutes and you're like, I don't know where she went. And you kind of keep in mind of like maybe like I can from where you are in the lighthouse, like at the highest level, you might be able to see her if she comes back. It might be darker and it might be hard to see her, but you might be able to like pinpoint the exact place where her stuff is and if she comes back with it or not at all. So you bow out, you're like, okay, this is weird. I'm just gonna leave. So you go backwards from where you came. Need you to roll again. This time you can use never again.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get back out from where you came.
5.
Amazing. So you have same like a rock bits are falling as you're like now going up instead of coming down to get back to the walking path that leads to your lighthouse. And as you do, just as you get over the ridge and you get to a place where like someone can't see you, you hear like a light splash, and it's not like something dipped in or fell in. It sounds more like kind of like when someone puts their feet like in water. That's what it sounds like. A person. You turn just over the ridge and you see that familiar like flash of blonde hair come from that area that you couldn't see before. And looks around, hands are wiped and stuff like that. And you notice her hands have like bits of red on it, like something smeared on her. And she like looks around like and like digs into her the canvas bag that she had, and you see like a napkin or like a handkerchief that she wipes her hands off with towel. Um, and then she looks up and looks at uh, the bag that got put on a rock. Like tilts her head, looks around again, and she looks kind of concerned. Uh, but she doesn't think about it, grabs it, and starts hoofing it back from where she came. And you're like, okay, I don't know what that was about. Where did she go? How did she get back? She looked dry. Like she didn't
Yeah,
look like
she
her hair was just as it was. Her outfit was just as it was. So you have no idea where she went. Um, Unless she long jumped across all that water, which didn't seem like what happened. It's a mystery. And you're like, you know what? It's a long day. I have duties to attend to. You go back to your lighthouse. You lock up for the night. You stay up for as long as you can in terms of like keeping. I think that you have like a log of ships that might be coming in and out or that are registered for coming in, and you stay up until all of them are due in, as well as just in case if there's an emergency and someone needs to like find out where they are, you kind of stay up as long as you can for that. Um, trying to figure out if you're the type of person that would sleep at your desk, or if you would while doing duties, or would you be like, okay, I'm done for the evening, I've done everything that I could, I'm going to go back to my futon.
It depends if like if there are ships coming in until 3 or 4 in the morning on a given day, they won't bother going back to bed. But
Mm,
if the last ship of the night comes in at like 11, and they're not expecting anything, they'll grab the little radio that has the emergency channel on it and bring it up with them to bed.
I think okay, so then you would go up to bed. So you take your radio. and you go up because the last ship came in probably 11:30. That's been noted. You make your notes. You wrap everything up. You take the radio, you go upstairs, and you do you try the tea actually before you go up, or do you really need sleep, or are you just like you forgot about it, like out of sight, out of mind kind of situation?
I think they were certainly planning to before the interaction with Jane, but that sort of like weirdness has overpowered the weirdness that is regular of Matt coming to the house. And so the tea joins its friends forgotten in the cabinet.
Damn. Okay, he tried. He did. Um, you go up the stairs, you take your radio, and you lay down, and you fade, and your eyes snap open at the base of your lighthouse spiral stairs, where usually you set up to do your logs and stuff like that and welcome visitors. Instead, it's empty of everything but where the base should be, but instead it's just water up to the ankles. The door is open. It's like the flood, like the water came up to, which is not possible, came up all the way to the lighthouse. That red door of your lighthouse. You can see out and you can see the clear night sky. Stars from outside the door. The top of the lighthouse is gone and you can see up there too. The light nowhere to be seen. But the only thing that lights your path is the full moon. And then you look back forward and you look down. And those stairs spiral down forever to darkness, depths. And you feel an urge to go down, to be at peace down there. You're not sure why, so it's not really a desire that you've ever had to go down into the depths and feel peace. But you do. You start walking, walking. And then the water envelops your clothes, goes up and up to your shoulders. Then you submerge, the water fills you, mouth, nose, lungs. But again, it doesn't hurt, that burn isn't there. You can see clearly under here as it keeps going and going. And then as you get to a certain depth at the bottom, you see those tendrils. They're not demanding this time, they're just lazily moving through, creeping up those spiral stairs, urging you forward in a way. Just as you're like, yeah, that's where I want to be, that's where I want to go. You feel a hand grip you from behind and stop you, sure and solid. It turns you around, you're underwater, and you see somebody that looks older, has tan skin that looks like it's been waterlogged kind of situations. One's been in the water for a very long time. Eyes no longer seeing. Dead eyes. Curly hair. White hair. Or becoming white. Salt and pepper. With a cane. And they open their mouth to say something while there's this air bubbles. Can't even try to figure out what they said. Then you hear the feedback of a radio wake you up.
Uh, I pick up the radio and sort of um, Docent White Crow, Lighthouse, over. Could you repeat? Over.
The feedback is heard again, and it sounds like someone is trying to say something, but it can't be heard.
Uh, they sort of like try tuning the dial and seeing if maybe like whoever is trying to communicate is on a slightly wrong channel because radio is like that.
They are. Can you roll for me to see if like that might be the
Yes.
problem for sure?
Two.
Hmm. I love that actually for me. Um, you turn it and you're trying to, but it just seems like that range of frequencies because it should have like at least like gotten clear as you maybe adjusted it
Yeah.
and then, but it seems like it passes over to the highest point that it can go and you barely hear them, but all you hear is more garbled speech, hurried speech. But that's about it.
They turn the microphone on again and say, uh, "You're not coming in clearly. Try the like try the Coast Guard emergency line. Something's wrong with my radio."
Hmm. Do you check outside to see if like maybe you can see someone that needs help out there,
Yeah,
like a distant light in the sea kind of
yeah.
situation, like
So
if
sort
this
of
is
like
someone nearby?
yeah. So as I'm doing that, like as I'm telling them to call the Coast Guard, essentially, I will go to like it's not it like that same window you were talking about, the one by the desk that was
Hmm.
shattered in the painting. Sort of like looking out that window, and it takes a little bit of strong arming to get it open, but you can get it open just enough to sort of lean out and see to either side.
Okay, you look out and you look to the other side and you look out into the ocean to see if you can see any ship out there. Um, like even like just a faint something. You kept the light on, but it might be on like auto kind of situation where like, hey, like it's still sweeping through, but let's say you want to target a certain area, and you're looking through and you don't really see anything, you don't see anybody. So perhaps it was the wrong signal. Maybe nowhere near you. Like maybe someone was is looking for help, but like it's
Not close to here.
not close to you.
Um, I'm going to take a moment and write in my ledger the time now, but also the time from when uh, the sound was first heard. Um, and I'm going to leave the radio on that station until the static stops, and also note at what time the static stops.
Okay. Just since you're waiting to see what happens, I would say roll again to see like, hey, is this gonna keep going? Like, how long is this going for?
4.
Oh, so a good like a partial pass. So you're waiting and you're waiting for like about an hour or so, and it's still going through and it's trying to fade in and out, and then those sounds start to sound very like you can kind of put together what's happening in the background at the very least. It does sound like ocean, like waves in the background that kind of sound like snow, like sound in the background,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like those roaring waves just sound like background. And you start to make out a voice. And you're trying to put I think you've listened long enough to kind of figure out what their cadence is, even if like you can't make out the exact words. They sound like partially desperate. Maybe not for themselves, but like they're trying to like tell you something. Like they're trying to communicate with you about something. Um, it doesn't sound like they're worried about themselves, is the best way to put it. Like it's like they have to communicate something. You need to hear me, other person on the other end, because it doesn't sound like they're in danger.
I will add that to my notes. Because part of this notes is obviously for me to upload into whatever archaic system the government uses for monitoring lighthouses. Speaking
Mm-hmm.
as someone who's worked in a government office, I would not be surprised if you literally have to fax the pages in.
Mm-hmm. Jesus
Um,
Christ.
um, but also sort of for myself to, in the morning, like go and like take a look at like newspapers or any kind of like, I don't know what the internet access situation is like in this town, uh
Mm-hmm.
um to see if there's any like other like incidents that happened during the night. So the more details that I write down, the better. And sort of like I've written sort of unboxed and made like a box around the word warning question mark, not in danger question mark.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. So you're noting that it eventually fades out, kind of like screeches to a halt. Not on like probably they lost connection or they got out of range. Either way, um, you're not worried about them based off of how it ended. Is the best way to put that. Um, but just a little bit of unease about it. You're like a lot of weird stuff happening in the last 24 hours. Um, but you note it. Uh, you have your ledger essentially. Are you down like this is the lower level or the higher level? Lower level.
Yeah.
So you're putting it away and say like there's like a drawer underneath. And you do notice that like there is an older ledger from before. You might have looked through it before, like kind of in passing, because none of this stuff made sense to you back then because you didn't know anything about how to man a lighthouse. But as you know, Flora has helped you. You've learned your stuff. Maybe this might have happened before. Do you want to check out that ledger?
Yeah. Just see if there's anything about like getting calls on the wrong frequency or really staticky calls, that sort of thing.
Cool. Roll for me.
Or again.
Heck yeah. Like we're getting nice mixed successes, which are pretty fucking sick. So you pull out that ledger, it's a little older. Um, and it's about let's say yours was new or like you got one that was new for you. This one is like about the same width in terms of like but very leather bound given like an older jet owned this kind of situation. And you flip it open and you flip through it for a moment, you realize that this whoever had this uh was only here for 6 to 8 months. um and you flip to the front of the page to see if the person wrote their name, and they did. Mathis. um the person from before, you're like, oh, this was his. But I was just kind of tumbling through and trying to figure stuff out, and also kind of in my own head, until you started talking to more people. And you flip through and everything seems normal, and you're trying to see if anything is anything is odd or weird or anything. And then you get to like the last 2 pages that are facing each other, and you see that there is a note about uh, a call that came in 2 days before the last entry that said that like getting frequency, someone is trying to reach out to me, but could not hear them, couldn't like even figure out who they were talking to. Um, referred them to Coast Guard. It's kind of similar to what you're talking about. Uh, then you see the next day, it says that like they got another call. This time it was clearer and they could hear them. They told me to leave. They knew my name. I didn't know who they were. This is kind of freaking me out now. And the next day, kind of doing their tasks as normal. And then you don't see anything after that.
The first thing Olive does, because of just the day and night that they've had, is sort of like, you know, that sort of superstition belief that you can pinch yourself in your sleep because if you feel pain in your sleep, you'll wake up.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of like grab their like the skin between their thumb and their finger and like pinch it between their nails until it hurts, and they're awake. This is happening. Um, and so they just kind of like they take the old ledger and they're gonna bring it with them up to the upper level that they stay in. They're not gonna leave it in the drawer with their ledger.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. So bringing it up, refer to it if you need to. Um, and you decide to, well, not decide to. I think that you might naturally fade to sleep. Your sleep is kind of endless. Like it doesn't like you don't dream of anything. You don't dream of watery depths. So it's kind of a peace for you in its own way. Finally, like no more nightmares for tonight. When you go to sleep and you wake up, it feels like you didn't sleep as much as you would have liked to, even though like you should have. It feels like you only slept for an hour out of like the remaining 5 hours that you did. And you are woken again by thunderous knocking at your door. You know those knocks. It's Matt. And Matt, as you know, normally doesn't come every day. So like this is a little not entirely out of character, but like this is a little out of character. He's coming 2 days in a row.
Yeah. Olive is going to get up, throw on their house coat, and then open the like window that faces inwards, like towards the shore as opposed to towards the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of shout down, I'm making tea. What do you want?
As you look over, you see like you see Matt looking up. Oh, hey there, Olive. How are you doing this morning?
It's morning. That's certain.
You said you were making tea? I hope you're trying the tea that I got you.
Remember a couple weeks ago when you gave me that energy tea? I'm gonna try that today. See if it helps me get through.
And I do appreciate that. I really do. But you should try the tea that you bought yesterday. I think it would really help you out this time around.
I meant to try it last night and I forgot, but it's sleepy time tea, so I really shouldn't be having it at... Checks my watch. Is it 9 a.m. again?
It's 9 a.m. again. Exactly 9 a.m. You see that smile of his, and it's beaming from where you are. You're like, Jesus Christ. Like, I'm like, it's blinding.
There's the sun from above,
yes,
and then his
and it's
from
just
below.
magnifying, right? And that smile is there, but this time around, though it usually like paints his face and like it reaches his eyes, it doesn't seem to reach this time. There's a little bit of as serious as he can muster for him. He's like, I really think that you should drink that tea.
I'll come down. We can stop yelling through my window.
I think that would be lovely.
Closes the window. They are going to set a kettle to boil. Whether or not they will actually make tea is to be seen, but they will put a kettle on to boil, so at the very least, when they open the door, it gives the illusion that they are probably planning to make tea.
Mm-hmm. So, hear the kettle on, you open the door, he stands there with like that same flat smile. He does not walk in. And he's like, "How were you last night, Olive?"
Got woken up, weird call on the radio. I think someone had a wrong frequency.
Have you been having nightmares?
Every once in a while, but
About
doesn't everybody?
drowning.
Not hard question. I have had nightmares about being in water, but the
But
drowning
not
is
actually drowning.
not. Yeah. Drowning is not the scary part.
What's the scary part, if you do not mind me asking?
You know, Matt, sometimes the scariest things in our dreams are us.
That is very deep and profound indeed, Olive. You should be a poet.
I think that ship sailed.
Ah, unfortunate. But really, you should try that tea. I think that you'll gain some clarity.
Well, provided nothing keeps me up tonight. I did plan on drinking some yesterday. Got a little bit carried away with. But I will here. And they like go over to the desk where their ledger is, and they like take a pencil and make a note in their like end of day checklist. It says, "Make tea."
That makes me feel so much better, Olive. Thank you very much. Please have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time period it is right now. Bows. And bid you adieu. And like turns tail, walks out.
Hey, Matt.
Hmm?
How are you doing?
What do you mean? I am doing swimmingly. Can't you tell, Olive?
Well, I mean, I figured it was rude not to ask because you always ask how I'm doing.
Oh, well, that is very kind of you. I am doing very well. I'm worried about some people in my life right now, but hopefully everything will turn out just fine. I'll check back in tomorrow morning. I will not bang, I promise, if that's not what you want, but I feel like that's the best way to get you downstairs without you ignoring me. Doodles.
Toodles. If your tea is as good at helping me sleep as you say it is, which I'm not saying I disbelieve you, maybe come at like 9:30?
You know what? I never thought about it that way. I'll definitely come at 9:30. Maybe even 9:45.
Wow, that's a late start for the day, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Good. Please do well, Olive. Seriously.
You too, and I hope whoever you're worrying about, things get better.
The smile slowly reaches back to the eyes. I hope so too. Take care. Leaves, walks away. Raising an eyebrow at this man as he walks away with his suitcase. And you close the door and you're like, the hell is happening?
What is happening? I think Olive like considers making whichever energy tea was on Matt's roster a few like weeks ago, and is like, no, I know what I need, and like will instead grab their wallet because they're gonna go down to the like, you know, that like on a boardwalk, like the coffee stands that make the like Red Bull blended with whatever flavors you want.
Mm.
That's the amount of caffeine that Olive needs this morning.
All right, so yeah, you get up, you decide to leave your lighthouse. Man, Flora would be so proud of you right now. You step out and you start walking. And this is the first time in a while, because you've done it before. You went out and walked on your own, and you're taking in everything. You're going down to the boardwalk to get some highly caffeinated beverage of some sort, something delicious and tasty. And as you're walking, you see something that you haven't seen in a while. Someone you haven't seen in a while. As you get to like the where the boardwalk starts, where you like would turn into it. Essentially, you see someone standing, all black outfits, pencil skirt, high heels, pumps, uh, black hair, curled, um, blazer jacket, sharp black nails, and you can see like the side profile of them. Essentially, they have pale skin, uh, red lips. That's all you can see is like they're standing, they're talking to somebody. You know, they have been introduced to you, but not by them, because you're curious about who this is. This is the visitor that you get once a month. That looks so out of place here, Mira. So Mira's standing. You can see like the flash of blue eyes, as she's piercingly looking at someone and talking to them animatedly, and smiling in that delicate, like warm tone that you're used to. Even though this person that you know is kind of unsettling, you've never been able to pinpoint it because they act normal outside of like kind of not looking like a normal person regular, like they're dressed like a funeral director, like a female funeral director, um but otherwise like they're like, yeah, otherwise like they're just like dressed to impress, I suppose, always. um this dress is a little different this time, but it's still like every time you've seen them. As you walk up and you're like, oh wow, this person's here, I'm due for a visit from them, if they're in town. And you've always wondered why you've never seen them around town otherwise. It's always when they are getting ready to visit you. But you move forward. Are you kind of tunnel visioning for your coffee right now, or did you want to stop by and say hi to Mira?
I think, like, sort of less tunnel visioning for caffeine and more, I've seen Mira, but I don't think she's seen me yet. And so I'm gonna head to the place to get my drink, and then if we end up having a conversation, at the very least I will have caffeine in my body.
Right. So you're aiming to like walk, like temporarily walk around her, because you're
Yeah.
like, if like she says something, you're like, hold on a minute, I need some caffeine, which everyone would understand. And you walk around and roll for me. And this time, I think you're still uneasy. You haven't really dipped into tense yet, right? I don't think so. You're not feeling tense.
Not quite. I think
I don't think so. Like, I
not
think you're
quite,
like, this
yeah.
is some weird stuff happening, but you're not worried. Like, you're not
Yeah.
very worried. So yeah, you're uneasy still.
5.
Nice. So, similar to yesterday, you walk up and you see that there's like a pumpkin, like for this time of year, like a pumpkin apple cider latte of some sort. And you go up and you want coffee. You want the taste of fall, but you don't want it to be pumpkin spice or cider. You go up and you're getting ready to talk to them. And you're like, hey, like, can I get like a
Yeah.
pumpkin? Like, can I get this? But like, and then they take over from you, and say like, hey, did you want a cider with like a shot of pumpkin flavoring and an espresso shot? And then you just kind of make a look like, yeah.
Yeah.
And they smile at you. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll get that for you. Um, you want oat milk
Uh,
on the side?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, like, how'd you know that?
Oh, it's just this town and how it works. And then like they like go back to making it like that answer to your question. And you're like, sure, yeah. And you look around as they're making your coffee. And you notice again that feeling of eyes on your back and sides of your head. And this time you don't look immediately, you just kind of feel it like impending over you. And then you slowly turn and everyone's looking at you and they stare for a little too long. And it's like permeating. It's drilling into you. And you're wondering if it's because you're alone this time. And then they stop looking at you and they go, it's like they go back to doing what they were doing.
Sort of like the some of the tiredness has left their like posture out of like pure adrenaline.
Oh, absolutely. You're like, well, that was a wake up call. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Um,
Um,
was Mira also staring like everybody else was staring?
no, her back was to you and she was talking to somebody else, it looked like.
Like their their fingers are literally sort of like like curling and uncurling as like you can tell the like desire to write this down and like make note of it and have a record of it is there, but they don't bring their notebooks and ledgers with them out of the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to sort of hold this feeling so that they can write it down as soon as they get back.
Gotcha. As the coffee is given to you and the bright smile of have a good one is given, you turn after everyone went back to doing what they were doing, and right in your path, you see Mira standing directly behind you with like that disarming smile that they have.
Good morning.
Good morning, Olive. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Had a bit of a rough night, but that's what this is for.
They reach forward and they like tap under your eyes. Not getting sleep like you're supposed to.
You know, you'd think after 4 or 5 people commenting that I'm not getting any sleep, I'd do something about it, but here we are.
To each their own. Nightmares would do that to you.
Nightmares, people calling on the radio at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, really? Do tell. And then like she reaches a hand out to like the person at the coffee stand and they just hand her a coffee. She did not order it. Like she just like walk with me.
Her presence just summoned the coffee.
Her presence alone apparently summoned the coffee. And you're like, okay, maybe she ordered it before. And she's like, walk with me. Jerks her jaw to the walkway going back to the lighthouse. What kind of talk was happening on the radio? She takes a step.
Someone with the fuzzy frequency couldn't quite get the words. I don't know if they were on a wrong channel or just too far out for the signal to reach, but when I looked out, there was no one in the harbor, so figured it was probably something that if they were asking for help, I wouldn't necessarily be the one who could help them.
I see. That does happen sometimes. It doesn't happen regularly. Let's put it that way. But hopefully it didn't keep you up for too long or didn't unsettle you. It just happens sometimes. And how's the lighthouse doing?
Mostly good. I think we might need to replace the main bulb sometime soon. There's some like little fractures in the glass, not enough for it to break, but I think it might be seeing some wear and tear.
Hmm. That is a little weird. Usually doesn't like crack like that anytime soon. Has anyone been bothering, tampering, leaning against it, any sort of thing?
Not as long as I've been there, and unless they're doing it while I'm asleep, but
I don't think anyone's allowed in there outside of you. And I highly doubt that you would do it because you're taking such great care of it. I do say so myself. How's Ash doing?
um pretty good. I don't I guess I don't know if I told you that his partner is expecting. They're expecting.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh my goodness.
But he's doing good. I He seems happy, which is what I care about. So,
Is he planning on visiting you anytime soon?
I don't know. I don't think oceans are his thing. He's sort of a very landlocked person.
Is he a city person or like a,
City
a
person.
mountain path type of person?
Uh, More of a city person.
I see. I got you.
I was the outdoorsy type.
I don't know if I get that vibe from you right now.
Ah, well, things change.
Yeah, that they do.
But no, he likes the city. He works there. His partner works there.
Hmm. If there's an issue with the light that needs to be replaced, you probably should call it in today, if anything. Keep an eye on that. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that Ash is doing well. How about Miss Flora? I keep on missing her.
Uh, she came by yesterday while
Hmm.
making her rounds. So yeah, you just missed her, I suppose. But she's good. Uh, Reminds me that I need to get out more, but I'm outside.
I see, and I think everyone is proud of you.
I don't know if proud is necessarily the word, but I'm sure
I'm pretty
everyone
certain it
noticed.
is. What happened there? And she points to your arm.
Uh, which?
So you bring your arm up, and you see a bruise if someone had grabbed you from around the wrist. Someone getting rough with you.
Uh, nope. Not except for, I guess, me in my own sleep. I must have held on too tight.
You're one of those sleepers. You should drink some tea about it. I heard that there's a lot of good, like there's, what was his name again? Matthew. He's really good at that sort of thing.
I I bought some tea from Matt yesterday. I meant to drink it, but got caught up in work. But I've, at his bequest, I've put it at the bottom of my checklist to try and drink some tea.
Mm-hmm. You should. But yes, be careful and definitely call that in if it's starting to fray a little weird. Maybe it's from last time and maybe it's just catching up kind of thing. Yeah, I won't keep you from your duties. It is still morning afternoon and I have to make my rounds. So do take care, Olive.
Uh, should I be expecting you? Would you like me to have tea ready?
If you don't mind, I think that would be lovely. But do take care. I think you have a meeting with someone later today.
Oh, I'll have to check my schedule.
I think an art jam of some sort, and then she like lifts like the coffee to her lips and walks away.
There's like a moment while they're watching Mira walk away that I think their moods shifts from uneasy. into tense
You're
because
feeling
they're
like this person is saying a lot of stuff that you did not tell them.
yeah,
And like,
there's
eh.
it's one thing to maybe have done a little bit of research and found out that they have a brother, but all of the other little pieces of information have like that spider crawling sensation down Olive's spine.
It's right in the back
And
of your neck.
yep, and they watch Nero walk away until they're like out of immediate field of view, before turning and walking faster than a regular walking pace back to the lighthouse.
Cool. I'm going to take all of my dread, and I'm going to give you one despair. So if you do not mind, please increase your despair by one.
Yes.
Just because that transition of, hmm, I don't know what's happening, and I don't know what it is. So the transition from uneasy to tense feels about right for the despair increase.
Yes.
So you go back to the lighthouse and you finish your coffee. You do your duties. You're trying to get that this weird, uneasy feeling out of your like off of you. Like, what is this? You have these obscure pieces of information that like aren't really leading in one direction or another, and you're not sure what it means. Can you roll for me? And you are desperate. Not desperate. You're tense right now. So
4.
okay. So mixed success, lesser version, dread goes up by one. So I just get an increase. That's about it. You still
Yeah.
succeed. So you do your tasks. You're being very careful. You look at the light last step and make sure everything's okay, and you see that that cracking has spread more than it should have. It looks like it's now a little concerning. Whereas before yesterday you were like, okay, I might have like a bit of time before like it like creeps up. This time it looks like it's breaking, and you can see that the light within is there's something inside of it. Um Something that's like I'm trying to put the words here. Um doesn't look like a normal bulb on the inside. It looks like maybe like a stone of some sort or something like that is embedded in within. But you wouldn't be able to see it unless it was broken, like in which you're starting to see through. And you're like tilting, you're like, what is that? But outside of that, the only way you are going to find out is if you break it yourself to look inside.
Yeah. That is not something that is even going to occur to them, but they are going to uh, call into the parts depot wherever you ordered new lights from.
You call in, like there's probably a number for you to like get replacement bulbs.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, first, since you got like a 4, uh, there's usually like some place you can get replacement bulbs, like within the lighthouse. So there might be like a storage compartment or something like that. You were told about this by Flora that like usually they keep a few on hand, and you look inside, open the door, and you see like there's these large boxes for those bulbs, and you open one and you see that it's empty, and then you open another one and you see that it's empty, and you like okay, and you look at another one and it's empty. There's like 4 or 5 boxes and they look brand new, but they're gone. And then you're like, okay, so now I have to call in the parts depot because usually we have 5 to 6 on hand just in case. And then you think, oh, maybe it's noted in the ledger what happened to them, like in terms of like someone could keep track of inventory. And you rush back and you look and you see that the inventory is untouched. There's supposed to be the number of boxes that there are. They're all gone.
Does the ledger say when the shipment came in?
It came in about 8 months ago. So like these should have lasted you for like a little bit of time. Like you wouldn't have had to. The only way that like it would have been if like they were defective, and you're like, oh man, okay, this didn't work. I have to call it in kind of situation. Um, so yeah, like probably within that time frame of the other, um, like housekeeper. So
Well, I will call up the parts depot and steel myself for the uncomfortable conversation of why are you ordering things when you shouldn't need them.
mm-hmm. So you're just like looking like, okay, fine. You have that conversation. I'm not gonna put you through this. You have the conversation. You're just like, okay, yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. Either someone stole them or someone reported it wrong. It's not on me. And you just have this whole conversation with this person, and they finally relent and say that the shipment will come out within the next 3 days, which you're not sure if you're gonna have 3 days before it breaks, just because of how quickly it started to. um, that means that the lighthouse is going to be potentially not operational for like 2 days. Maybe, hopefully not. Maybe like you can do something in the meantime. So you keep an eye on it. You don't see it breaking any further. But you kind of eye it like, okay, you stay how you are. You take note of it in your ledger, and you after this, what do you do? Because you have a art jam on the beach, but you might have some time before you do that. So what would you like to do?
I think the first thing, like next to the like in this like while doing the notes in the ledger, um, they're going to like sketch the like crack pattern, like the shatter pattern, um, just to sort of like have like a visual reminder of what it looks like right now, so that when they come back tonight to check and turn it on, they know what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Can you roll while you're sketching this out?
That's a one.
Was I expecting a one? No. Character that doesn't succeed. The player chooses to suffer. So you choose. You either suffer a severe consequence, you give me 2 dread, or you increase your despair by 1.
I
Or
am going to.
you
Oh,
can try a different approach, which I don't know what kind of different approach you have to sketching, but or you can push it to desperate because you're like, I'm going to get this. If you do that, you roll again. Um, yeah, you roll again with an extra dice. You roll a dice, you tell me what the number is, and whatever that number is divided by 2, that's going to be how much your anxiety goes up before you roll. Did you want to push it, or you want to keep it?
I'm gonna keep it,
Hmm.
and I will take the severe consequence.
Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, so you sketch this crack, and you're kind of getting into the details of it. You're like, okay, I'm not gonna like what. Maybe you can like surmise how it started, or even like, okay, this is the note. This is what happened to it. This is just for later for me. And as you do, you're doing this that spread. You're realizing that the crack, it started at a certain point at the base where it connects with the power. It looks like something hit perfectly right there. Like something sharp landed that. And you can't tell exactly what that was, but it looks like something either intentionally or like something flung at some point hit it. But based off of how lighthouse lights are set up, that's kind of weird. Like, oh, someone had to walk up there, fling something, or something weird happened, like a disturbance of some sort happened and it flipped. So, and it caused the shattering, and then the shattering got worse. And as you're sketching, you have that out of body experience again. Your body continues to sketch this, and they don't even look at the page that you're sketching, and they're just like tunnel vision focused, dead-eyed on this thing, and you're looking back at them. You're like, okay, this is happening again. What does this mean? And you see the black lines of your pencil perfectly replicate this. You're good at art. This is starting to become photographic in quality. And from those cracks, you see something bleeding out. It's like a kind of stop motiony, where it's like it's starting off with the base, and then it's like going to the next layer, and then it's going to the next layer, and it's going to the next layer as something's creeping out. That blackness, those tendrils seeping through the crack, coming through the picture. And it's still going, and it's still going, and it's like, okay, this is weird. I'm not having this happen again. Roll again for me.
6.
Amazing. You blink and you go back to your body, and it stops right where the sketching happened. Those tendrils coming through the cracks.
Sort of like snap the like notebook shut, and that same way that like if you've ever had a panic attack or a very emotional like 5 minutes, how that can make you feel like you've run a marathon and now you're exhausted.
Yes.
That same sort of like bone deep exhaustion of all of the energy that just happens sort of like sinking, um, and just like sort of like leaning back against the like railing of the like light room.
You are trying to, one, understand what's going on. Two, collect yourself, because why does this keep happening? And you're now starting to get, especially because you're tense right now, you're starting to have this sinking feeling that like something is wrong, something's happening outside of you, something's happening around you, and you're not sure what to do about it. You know that you need to meet up with Jane. It's starting to come up to that time. And you can tell me this. Are you torn between going to see Jane, or are you going to be like, actually, I need to get to the bottom of whatever the hell is happening right now?
The memory of watching Jane sort of like disappear is still very strong in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so Olive wants to meet with Jane mostly just to see if she's okay.
Okay.
Because very much like with everything else weird that's happening, she wants to make sure that Jane actually like is there and is okay.
Okay. So I would say, um, yeah, you do that. You try to get as cleaned up as you can, out of like your lighthouse duty garb. Be a social person, for someone to do an art jam, which you haven't done in a while with anybody. Despite feeling a little unsettled, um, this is still hopefully something that can calm you down. Talking to a friend, and hopefully there's a rational reason as to why she vanished, before your very eyes. You bring down your sketchbook. Is it the same sketchbook with the cracks in it?
Yes.
Okay. You bring that down, probably pencils, charcoal, maybe color pencils, if you want to like capture color, if you would
Yeah.
like to. And you see Jane standing on the beach, near the rocky part, like a little bit of the rocky parts, but like mostly on the beach, and it's waving at you happily as you make your way over.
There's like something that like Still very tense, but like seeing Jane's excitement takes the slightest bit of the edge off.
Mm-hmm.
Comes up and just, hey, good to see you.
Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm all right. Didn't sleep very well. I feel like it's what I said yesterday.
It is
Sorry.
exactly what you said yesterday. I saw that you were talking to Mira.
Yeah, they drop by about once a month to check in on the lighthouse and I guess the rest of town. They said they had to make their rounds.
Yeah, she checks in on everybody. It's what she does. Yeah.
How was running your errands last night?
Oh, it was really good. I was able to get it done, no problems. Yeah. I didn't think I was gonna make it in time, so.
Yeah, I was really worried when I saw you go down there. The tide was already really high. So.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. I was able to find my way around just fine. I've done it plenty of times. I'm really like absent-minded when it comes to like timing, and I forget like when I'm supposed to go down earlier so that I don't have to go a weird way around. Yeah. But thank you for caring about me and worrying about me. Like I appreciate that. Art and like starts sitting down
Yeah,
very like is being very awkward about it. Like you get the vibe that she's trying to talk past that conversation to be like, yeah, that happened. Art sits
art
down,
instead.
kind of plops down on the sand and like flips open her sketchbook. Do you do the same thing?
Yeah, like we're like sort of like sitting like cross-legged, just sort of like leaning up against one of those little rocks or whatever.
Okay. So you both sketch. I'm assuming that like she's like sketching um kind of similar to what you do, but she's known for doing more like her the sunsets, the skies, rock faces, where the water meets the rocks and sand kind of situation. You do similarly where like you draw what you see and then you might change a thing to like add something unique to it, whether in a creepy vein or just in a, like a experimental vein. Um, Roll for me as your skeleton.
4.
For okay, so that's good then. And this is tense, right?
Yes, we are still
Okay,
tense.
we're still feeling tense. All right, cool. So I get a dread boost. Thank you. And you're trying to focus on drawing the sunset, the shoreline as it's like coming up. But you see instead, Jane, in your that feeling of like dissociation is happening again. Luckily, not out of body. Just that haze of like that meditative state that you somehow fall yourself falling into, and you start sketching. And yes, the shoreline is looking good. You're adding the colors. You're vibing, and you're drawing her. And before you know it, yes, you drew Jane, but there's something different about her in your art that you don't notice until you're almost done. Her hair is out, but it's like more stringy. Like it's darker near the ends. Kind of wild. She already had frizzy hair, but this is like wild. Her face is sunken in. Like where her jaw is, like sunken in. She looks like she hasn't slept in weeks. In comparison to you, like you look like a fresh daisy in comparison to what you just drew of her. Her arms are gaunt and long, and her fingers are long and blackened, curved in at the knuckles, like if she's sitting on the sand, like it's like that. So like it's caved in on itself because like it's just so long. And that though the pose is beautiful, staring out into the sunset, this being is horrifying. Of this friend of yours. And you find yourself stopping as you finish the curve of the fingertips.
Like, there's a moment where, like, very, like, making sure that the sketch page is not visible because, no one wants to show someone that they've just drawn a horrifying visage of them. Just like, hey, you know how yesterday you asked me about nightmares?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you sleeping okay?
Like she stopped sketching because like she was looking at her sketch. She wasn't looking at you. She was just like answering you. She stops and then looks over. Yes.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that.
Can you roll for me?
Yep. 5.
Amazing. My door goes up again. Hey.
Yeah, I'm just handing you dread.
Yeah. I like to hoard it and then use it all at once. That's how I use it. She said that a little too fast. She's lying.
I was just I know that my nightmares have been getting worse, so I wanted to check in and see if you were doing okay. 'Cause, I don't know. Asking about them when you're not having them is kind of out of left field, I guess.
Ah. She closes her sketchbook and she looks around. Okay, so I don't want you to freak out or anything, but I don't dream.
Oh. Like at all?
At all. To be really honest, I don't sleep. Period.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Best I've ever been. Ever since I moved here.
But you don't sleep at all?
Yeah, don't have to.
Don't have to?
Yeah. That's the whole thing. That's the whole vibe. That's the whole shtick. We're not supposed to talk about it. Like, looks around. But yeah, like, all we have to do is just pay tribute to something. Like, and then points back where she came and do it once a month, and we're good. I get to do everything I've ever wanted, everything I needed. I'm like rejuvenated, relaxed. Like my business is going well with like the framing company. Like custom frames, people buy those. Like who knew? And I get to do art. So yeah, this is great. Yeah, it's weird, but
you're okay?
Yeah, I think so. Are you okay though? Because like I thought that, you know, you're here too, and you would be getting the benefits as well. But you know, like, have you been paying tribute?
No.
No. Oh, baby, honey, no wonder you can't sleep. Actually, like, it's like, oh yeah, you're supposed to do it. No one told you. But you talked to Mira though, right?
Yeah, Mira has told me to drink tea.
That's not like that's not exactly what I mean. Like she just like stares at you. If Mira didn't tell you anything, then why are you here?
I saw the ad for a lighthouse keeper, and I'm a person who likes to keep to myself. Figured it was a great job for someone who doesn't like people.
Oh, you don't not like people. Come on now. We're sitting, we're jamming.
I I like to keep my distance from people. Let's put it that way.
I get that. Yeah, like maybe if you talk to Mira, maybe she can get you bought in, and then you can get some good night's sleep, or just feel well, no sleep at all. Get that long rest, and then you don't even have to do it anymore.
I don't know that 7 more hours awake is necessarily gonna give me anything. But
If you're not gonna need it, then it's all good.
um, but you said you moved here. Did you start pretty soon after you moved?
Yeah, like within a week, it was kind of weird, and I was kind of terrified to be honest. But then, like, you see her like look off and like think about it. I was scared. I don't know why I wasn't scared anymore. But we're all good. I can't imagine myself leaving. So, yeah, you should totally, like, join the club. you know?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not invited.
But that's so mean. she says, like, and, like, but why wouldn't you be? It doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna talk to Mira about it.
Okay, but as long as it won't get you in trouble, I don't want.
It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And then like she like picks up her picture and shows her landscape art. Like, what did you do?
Uh, I'm gonna flip back to the cracked glass.
Oh, what is that?
One of the bulbs for the lighthouse is cracking, and the pattern was really interesting, so I wanted to try and recreate it.
It's giving a very avant-garde. Is that the word that we need? Like, it's very it's very beautiful. It's very unique too. It's a little dark. I like it.
Thanks. I think a lot of my art could fall into the dark category, but I love your landscapes. They're beautiful.
Thank you. It soothes me, and I get to draw them all the time. But I'm not gonna keep you. I know you have to get back to your duties. But yeah, I could talk to Mira, and we'll see what we can do. To talk to you.
Thanks. Oh, if you need anything, you know where to find me. And maybe next month when you go for your errand, try to go a little earlier so you don't catch the tide.
I'll do my best. I can't promise anything, but I will do my best. I just have to put it on a sticky note next to my computer. That's all. Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
She waves and she heads off with like a little jump in her step kind of situation. She's really happy that she got to do this with you. But this was a very unnerving conversation. And you held it very well because you're like, she seems really happy. But that's all very concerning stuff she just said. Your friend doesn't sleep. You drew a picture at all. Since she moved here, she has not slept. But doesn't need to. She's felt the best she's ever felt. She's been feeling the most successful than she's ever felt as well. And you think about it, and you think about everyone that lives here that you know of. And kind of similarly, everyone's always looked really like high energy, happy, positive, and you thought they're like, oh yeah, of course it's just a town. But also like no one looks exhausted. Everyone's doing really well. And you kind of thought like, oh, like maybe like people are well off, moved up here, you know, like this is their vacation home kind of vibe. No, this is their livelihood. This is them, and somehow they're doing fine. Get enough tourists to make money, you know, always. So you're like kind of putting that together, and you're like, what the fuck does she mean she doesn't sleep? Do any of them sleep? It's like settling in your stomach in a weird way. And as you walk up to go back to the lighthouse, you see standing there is Mira with that sharp, unsettling smile of hers. And she grins and points to the door. Tea?
Yes, well, you beat me home, so I'll have to make it once we get inside, but tea.
Of course. And she steps aside for you to walk through. You do. You walk in, you let her in. And as she walks in, the camera sees blackened fingers, long, tenderly, as she walks in, and you close the door behind her. And we're going to take a break, everybody. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Things are getting intense. So yeah, talk to you later. Bye. back. So Olive just realized just that the town might be a little bit more weird than thought outside of hey, everyone's happy here all the time. I'm locked away in my little lighthouse, but no one sleeps apparently, and they're always happy and stuff like that. So what does that mean? So that uneasiness is turning into tense and unnerving real quick. And they met with Mira at the door to the lighthouse, and that's where you find yourself. You put the kettle on, and they're sat at like one of those little like sitting tables. It's very like quaint and cute kind of situation. It doesn't look like this person how they dress, their aesthetic is matching the lighthouse at all. But they are very comfortable there, like looking around fondly, kind of taking everything in, then smiling at you as you wait for the tea to heat up.
Uh, they have not brought out the sleepy time tea. This is just sort of like like late afternoon, evening tea. Uh, but they are like Olive is in the process of making tea and brings the tray with the teapot and the cups over to the table to sort of sit.
Mhm.
Just how were your rounds today?
Oh, they were delightful. Everyone seems to be doing okay. Everyone is keeping up with their whole regimens and stuff like that. That's all that really matters to me. And everyone's looking forward to the next month. It seems like so. All is well.
Do you I only ever see you about once a month. Do you live here or do you sort of travel from place to place?
I live here. I stay here. I just have other duties.
Understandable.
Hmm. I know. Like kind of similarly, I suppose, to you, but I don't really have anyone check in on me. I just kind of set a timer of when I need to come out and say hi to everyone, and then I kind of burrow again. You know.
I wish I could do that, but as you've noticed, people like to come and knock and check in on me, so
Hmm. Yeah, Matt has a way of Matt. Just in general, but at least he's excited and happy to do what he needs to do, I suppose.
he does seem to love what he does.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand. Of all the things in the world, door-to-door salesman. But he's good at it, I guess. He got you to buy tea, so.
There is a whole cabinet of things that man has gotten me to buy,
Mm-hmm.
mostly so that he would stop knocking at 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's one way to get sales, I suppose. But Matt is good at what he does. He's a good guy, just in general. But how about you? You seem to be a little bit concerned about the town itself. I saw you talking to Jane earlier.
Yeah, we had an art jam. She
Mm-hmm.
comes up here to draw sometimes and invited me down to the beach to sketch with her, so
Mm-hmm.
last night she went for a rather late walk. I was worried, so
Ah,
I wanted
yes,
to make sure
she
she was okay.
she had something that she forgot to do. It's something that we all remembered to do a little earlier, and she just keeps on missing the mark. But to each their own. Sometimes it happens. She's a very busy lady, as you know, probably. She's constantly on the move. But yeah, so
Her framing business is apparently doing very well.
yes, as all businesses here are doing. What's on your mind?
Huh, a lot of things, I guess. We'll be getting new light bulbs in the next few days, so that's
Mm-hmm.
good.
Is there something wrong with the bulb?
It's cracking at the base.
Oh, has it gotten
It
worse?
looks worse than when I checked yesterday. Yes.
Hmm. That's unfortunate. And there's no backups.
Just a bunch of empty boxes.
Hmm. Weird. Very weird
No,
indeed.
I'm not sure if someone took them, but they're all empty, so.
Hmm. How long will it be until they're replenished?
About 3 days, I think they said, so I'm keeping a very close eye on
3 days. How bad was the break?
um and uh they'll grab their sketchbook and sort of like flip to it. Now, this is an artistic interpretation. You can ignore the
Oh, it looks glorious, but let me look at the break.
handles.
Oh, that's not good. We only have a day. And you see Mira look at you. It's the first time you see no smile, essentially. And then she like stares at you kind of hawkishly and like leans into your space. You kind of like do a sit back of like, have you been all right? Have you been disembodying, having dreams of drowning, being taken?
uh Dreams of going into the water, not drowning specifically. There's a lack of anxiety that I would expect to come with drowning.
With peace at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good. And then like she stands up. There's a like a worrying like flattened like mouth kind of situation. Like she's processing. Put her hands behind her back as she paces. You can hear the click of her heels. That's not good. Ooh, okay. All right. Okay. Give me 1 second. And then you see her close her eyes. And then, like, it just seems like she pauses. And you're just staring at her, like, okay. Like, you thought she was going to get, like, a cell phone out and call.
Do something.
All right. Tomorrow, someone's going to give you a bulb.
Uh, oh, okay.
But in the
There.
meantime, keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't break any further.
Yep. Uh, I will do my best. I can put some epoxy on it, I guess. I don't know how much it will help, but
Ooh, that might work. Be careful with that, though. Just stop it from breaking any further. And I think that you'll be fine.
Mira,
Mm.
did you know the person who worked here before me?
She just stares at you for a moment. It's like that unsettling stare. There's no blinking. She's like looking through you, kind of. Yes,
Did he have dreams too?
yes.
I guess it's this place, huh?
She looks around at it fondly, like there's fondness in her eyes. Kind of.
I guess I was I suppose it was wishful thinking that the ocean would be calm.
The ocean can be calm, but it could also be deadly. Depends on who's looking at it, really. Epoxy points up at the. Keep an eye on it. I'll be back tomorrow. And you know that you've never seen her 2 days in a row. So she's like, what? You're like, wait, see you tomorrow.
Are you going to bring me the light bulb tomorrow,
Oh
or is
no, not
someone
me,
else?
but I'm just gonna check in tomorrow.
Right. Well, uh, I don't have any extant plans for tomorrow, except I suppose waiting for a light bulb. So I will endeavor to have tea ready for you when you get here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Her smile is tight, worry across her face. Nods and see you later, Olive, and closes the door behind her. She gathers her things very quickly. This door closes in, and it's like wow, that was weird. Like the room is empty of energy now because of that was just so sudden. And the night falls. You do your tasks. You make sure, like, go through the ledger of things that any ships that are coming in. You do it again. This one, there's a little bit less ships, so you don't have to worry too much. You go to bed earlier this time.
I am going to get out like some like acrylic sealing epoxy, the same kind that you would use to seal an acrylic slide painting. That's not what they're called. The kind that like where you just kind of paint pouring, like the
Oh,
whatever they're called. The
mm-hmm.
the paintings where you pour them.
The paintings that you pour, is it a resin? Is that what you're talking about? Like a,
No. Well, I mean the top layer is similar to resin. It's an epoxy. But I forget. There's
I
a
don't
word for
remember.
when
I,
you
I know what
mix
you
all the
mean.
paints.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't remember what it's called.
But grab some of that, and they're going to try and like at least put it over the parts where the cracks seem heaviest to try and like hold the
Yeah,
glass
so to
together.
stop it from spreading, so like for it to like start breaking further, you kind of put on the edges of those.
Yeah.
And that seems to you feel comfortable with it. Like you feel comfortable knowing that. Um, and do you make tea?
I get to the bottom of the list where I have written make tea, and Olive sort of like takes a breath and is like, it can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
And just makes a cup of Matt's very special sleepy time tea.
All right. You set the tea again after like a few hours of watching ships come in and out, making sure everything is doing well, communications are going well, and you are ready to go to sleep. You're like, all right, time to try it. You put the kettle on, and you put the tea bag mug or the hot water over. Can you tell me of a smell of Talia's that made you feel at home in their arms?
Um, Talia was very fond of sort of like cinnamons and nutmegs, so sort of like fall time spices. And even during the off season, would uh, buy like perfumes or colognes or deodorants or whatever that had those kind of like fall spice notes, and tended to use them around the house also, like those little scent pods or whatever. And so a very pared down smell of when you walk into a Michael's in October.
Oh yeah, that smell. Yeah, I got it. It's right there in the dome. You smell that. You inhale. It's not the smell you thought you're gonna smell. Maybe lavenders or like something that like helps with sleep. Um, like lemon balm, I think is like another one that you normally wouldn't think of for sleep.
Chamomile.
Chamomile, and maybe there is chamomile, but like this reminds you of her, and you're concerned for a split second about it because like why this smell, but then you feel your shoulders relax and you soothe for the first time in a while. Like you just you take a sip, breathe it in, and all you can hear is the waves outside, the calm in the room, the memory of her, the good ones. You smile, take a few more sips, put it down on like your side table. You like stare at it. You're like, maybe Matt was on something. Maybe. I'm not gonna get Mullen credit. He still bothers me in the morning. And you take the radio just in case. Go to sleep. I need you to roll for me.
3.
Is this tense still?
I think so.
I think so. I'm just like asking. Like, are you feeling still like this is still a little weird? Doesn't matter if I had a nice tea. But yeah. So let's say you don't succeed. You can either suffer a severe consequence, give me dread, up to 2, or you increase your despair by 1.
I'm going to give you dread.
Oh yay! Thank you. Hey, okay. So you and you failed. Oh, okay, hold on. So you wake up. The sun is shining. You feel the most relaxed you had in a very long time. No one's banging at your door or anything like that. Turn your head, looking around, and you stand up. Look at the clock, and it's 8:40. Mm. A lot earlier than usual banging 9 o'clock. And you walk down the spiral staircase. You look through the viewfinder to see if anyone's coming through, like if Matt is on his way, if he's like lurking out there or something like that, prepping. And usually through the viewfinder, you see like the warped view of outside, the water, the beach, the edge of town. But instead, all you see is water. Like you're looking through the depths underwater. See like the bubbles as it pulls by. You can feel the rush or the currents against the door. And then you notice as you look down that the water is flooding in slowly from the bottom. And you realize very suddenly that you are very lucid. What do?
Step 1, I'm doing my go-to check if I'm dreaming thing and pinching the skin between my thumb and my forefinger. Just like very.
It hurts.
How much water is already in the room?
It's starting to get to your ankles.
I'm going to sort of go and into the same like supply closet where those light bulbs should have been. There are probably sandbags because flooding, even if it's not likely, is still possible. So I'm going to go and put a couple of sandbags by the door just as like a support to like keep the door from cracking or anything. And then I'm going to like hurry up to the loft floor and look out the window there and see if it's also water.
All right, you look up and you like go up to the to see the whole lighthouse is submerged under the water.
Gonna keep going up. I'm gonna go all the way to the top and see what the light is looking like.
The light, you can see that like that the epoxy um is holding, but it is like shattering through it. Like it's by some unknown force is shattering through. And you had went to get the sandbags, and you were going a little fast, but when you did bump into one of those boxes, you did hear something shuffle inside. This time around, it's supposed to be empty. Like last time you checked, it was. Um, and you place the sandbags to try to slow things down, and it's working to the best of its ability, but it's still rushing in. And you rush to the top, kind of processing a little backwards here of like how's the bulb doing, and it looks like it's not holding. It's not going to hold for long. I'll give you this. If you can take steps to repair the light or replace the light, you'll increase your hope every time you attempt to do something in that direction.
I think before going back down to check through the boxes again and see if perhaps that shuffling means that there is something in there. What they're going to like try to do first is like, because feasibly there's also water outside the glass like walls of the lighthouse,
Mm-hmm.
and the pressure of that is something that they're worried about, and so despite knowing that it will cause water to enter the lighthouse faster, they are going to create, like, they're going to grab something and, like, make a small hole in the glass window of the lighthouse, because a slow trickle of water in is better than the water shattering the glass and thus shattering the bulb.
Okay. You're rolling. If you can work in an element of some sort, you can, but this is desperate, is what I'll say.
I would like to reveal a scar.
Oh, yeah.
That's possible.
Please.
Yeah. Um, Ash, Olive's brother, is an architect, and uh, part of the reason why he got so into architecture is because when they were younger, uh, both of them were sort of like very curious and exploratory people, and like growing up sort of on the edge of the reservation and the nearby city, and sort of going between those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of abandoned buildings in those sort of like in between areas, and so not quite urban exploring in that they're not like in the middle of a city, but like exploring abandoned buildings, that sort of thing. Um, and they were in one of those, and one of the support beams collapsed, um, and sort of like when falling, it caught Ash in the shoulder and caught Olive on the leg, and the two of them were sort of trapped down there, and they had to figure out how to get those pieces off of them without causing more of it to fall, and it resulted in a deep fear of old dilapidated buildings, but also a knowledge of which things are sort of vital to the structural integrity of something, versus you can break this one piece without breaking the rest of it.
Okay, so that's a good one. So I would say you call the element structural integrity. If you would like to put that in there, and increase your anxiety by 2 for that. And now you can use this for anything having to do with structural integrity of the lighthouse. roll a desperate with 2 dice.
6.
6, nice. Okay, so you succeed, but dread goes up by 1. I'm gonna take 4 dread, and I'm going to increase your despair to 2.
Yep.
So, just so that we're like, okay, things are getting really intense right now. You are able to successfully take, like, what would you say, like, you picked up something to, like, stab through the glass because the pressure is on now.
Yeah.
You were able to find a good spot using some kind of metal of some sort to pierce through. And you're able to do that in a few spots, like perfectly spread out, so that water can trickle in so that the glass doesn't break immediately. And it was like a desperate game of like, okay, what's happening? You are kind of confused while you're going through this because is this a dream? Is this real? Because you're pretty certain lighthouses don't just like fall into the water like this, but you felt pain. So you're not sure what's going on. So you're looking around and you're like, okay, that's gonna give me some time. Where are you going? Are you gonna go to those boxes downstairs?
Yes, I'm gonna go downstairs and investigate and see if any of those boxes might have turned up something I missed.
Okay, do it. You go down. The water's starting to get to like mid shin here at this point. And you start wading through. And you look at those boxes, and you see one of the boxes is what you can see like a glint off of some light. So it looks like glass of some sort. And you pull it forward, and actually also increase your hope by 1 because you did go in the direction of, hey, I'm trying to solve the problem. So yay, increase hope, everybody. Hell yeah, getting closer to hopefully, potentially, not die. So you get the box. You see the bulb. And you see some like stuff in it. Like you see a crystal has inscriptions on it. You see like the base of it, and it looks like this bulb is supposed to be put together in a certain way or fashion. And you look at the other bulbs and you realize that like they all have these components in it. They're all made this way. And you kind of like whisper to yourself, "Fuck is this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this?" But like you can figure it out. You might not know exactly how to do this, but you have the components. You have the way to try to put this together. There's also the option potentially that there might be some information about how to put this together in the lighthouse itself, but it is slowly filling up. So where you might find it is on the floor you're on right now, if you can find it somewhere.
I'm just gonna start sort of like, well, I'm going to set the box like up on the stairs so that I know that it's out of immediate water danger.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of rushing to the desk and like the cabinet of notes that are next to the desk, and just sort of like desperately looking for anything that might be like instructions on changing the light bulbs or something like that.
All right, cool. Roll for me. And if you succeed and you are desperate, but you can only roll 1 dice, I think, unfortunately. I think. Yes. You can only roll 1. If you succeed, increase your hope.
4.
Amazing. So increase hope to 2. You're looking around at this level. I might also increase my dread.
Do I also?
Either raise your despair by 1 or severe consequence.
I will take a severe consequence because I'm already at 2 despair.
It's valid and fair. So you're looking around. You're able to, just before like you looking through the desk, you're looking through cabinets to see if there's any paperwork about anything. You do see an older ledger. that's kind of buried in a back room of sorts. And like, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even see this. But no one goes back here anyway. So you flip through it and you look through and you see kind of scratches, visuals of a crystal with inscriptions on it from like a language you do not understand. You see, uh, essentially, it's called again, like blueprints, or like someone made like this thing, like something that's like special about this bulb specifically versus a normal lighthouse bulb. And you're like, okay, I don't know what this means right now, and even if you wanted to try to read that, you couldn't. As you take it, because you're stressed out, you close it, you're walking through, and then you feel something wrap around your ankle, slithering.
My first instinct is to kick it.
When you try, it pulls taut so that you can't. So this is something that's actively trying to wrap around your ankle and stop you from trying to kick it too. You look down, you see something dark and a flicker of iridescence in the water as it creeps up your leg. What do you do?
I'm going to like it's creeping up the leg, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to like sort of like lean down and sort of wrap my whole hand around it and see if I can't sort of like wrench it off.
Roll for me.
5.
Amazing. I keep on forgetting I still get stuff from this. I got a 6. It's a mixed success, but there's that. Increase your despair by 1, another severe consequence.
I will take my despair up by 1.
Okay. You're able to like grab it and you feel it slither around your hand. It's wet and cold, whatever it is, and you fling it off just to get your foot out of it. You back up in the water, nearly trip, but you're able to catch yourself before you wade run through the water back up to those stairs. You're able to get out of it. You see, when you look back over your shoulder as water slowly starts creeping in, you see the water moving in an unnatural way, as if there's something slithering under the surface, and you're like, no, I don't want that. That piece that you've gotten in those dreams about this exact scenario is not there. Like, oh, just you'll be fine, just in the depths. That's not what's happening here. You feel none of that, and you run up the stairs, weighted down with a little bit of water at the ankles of your pants. And you get to all the way to the top where the light bulb is. And you see that it is starting to get worse, cracking, breaking. You see within that crystal that iridescence of purple, blues, light colors. You can see the crystal within is starting to also shatter, flicker. And you're like, I don't know what that means, but that's not good, whatever it is. And you are going to attempt to do a couple of things. You're going to remove it, which means this lighthouse is going to go dark. You're going to put together the new bulb, because you need to have it ready to go.
Yep.
You're going to unscrew the next bulb. The lighthouse is going to go dark. You're going to put it in the new one and flip it back on. So 3 different rolls. If you can succeed in all of them, you'll reach Hope 5.
All right, step 1 is building the light bulb.
Building it, yep. So you can use structural integrity for this if you would like.
I was about to ask
It's
if
like, yes, you can, please. Like, I want you to try to live.
4.
4. So you succeed, but my dread goes up.
And I suffer a severe consequence.
Mm-hmm. So you do that. You are reading through the ledger. You're like, okay, all right, okay. Nerves are on end as you are taking the hollow shell of the bulb. You're seeing that the crystal goes in a certain way. You screw it in a certain way. You make sure that the base is properly aligned with like the attunement of the lighting that's supposed to go off. Put in the screw properly. You're doing good. You are able to like finish that. But unfortunately, one of the windows that you hit starts cracking, and it's starting to sputter more water in. You realize that you don't have much time before one of those things bursts open and fills the top area. Luckily, there'll be a little bit of time before the whole thing gets flooded because you're at the top. But it's gonna fill in fast if that thing bursts. Next roll.
I would like to bring up a scar.
Oh, yay. Good.
As sort of like going to untwist the light bulb, and the fact that it's, shattering outwards, and shattered glass is dangerous to touch in the most normal of circumstances, let alone when you are in under a lot of pressure. And before reaching for the light bulb, Olive grabs like an abandoned paint towel that they've brought up with them at some point, as they sort of remember when they were first sort of like moving in with Talia, and in the moving process had dropped a vase that held their mother's ashes and shattered it across the floor. And in the like moment of fear and self-loathing of how could you do this, they sort of like ran to pick up the pieces and try to bring everything together, and ended up cutting their hands on the pieces of shattered ceramic. But Talia came up behind them and grabbed a towel and sort of wrapped their hands in it and pulled their hands away, and said, "We can clean this up, but first you need to take care of yourself."
Oh my god. I don't know. This element's called take care of yourself. Lord, come from my heart. All right, increase your anxiety to 6.
Yep.
And you can roll with 2 dice.
Yes.
We good. We out here.
6. A 4.
All right.
And a 1.
Oh my god. So, the character succeeds, but drag goes up again. Okay, I'm gonna need to use these. I have too much dread. I need to use it in some way. Severe consequence? Or raise your despair by 1. All right, severe consequence. You're gonna get 2 severe consequences. So just because
you're also spending dread.
I need to spend some dread, and I need to remember how to do math. All right, hold on. There we go. So, all right. So you turn the light off. There's like a moment of pause as you like, okay, the lights are gonna go off. I really don't want the light to go off. I have to do that in order to like unscrew this. You flick it, and then there's darkness. You can see the light coming in from outside the water, and you see outside there's something swimming around lighthouse. It's large. You can hear a moan or a whine of something. It's brushing against the outside of the lighthouse. Not trying to like break it apart or anything, but it's waiting. It's nearby. You can see tendrils of something. That's all you can really catch. And you can hear that window shatter. Water start pooling in, gushing through. Now you need to pop it in.
Yeah, then I'm going. I'm going in.
Go ahead. Would this be take care of yourself as an element, or no? Do you think? Because it's not really like you like shattered glass anymore.
No, it's just a whole object that I'm putting into another thing.
All right. It's just one roll.
Just one. The sticks. The fancy logo that's on the cover of
Oh
my
yeah.
sixes.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
We got a 6. My drag goes up by 1, but
Yes.
it doesn't matter because your hope goes up to 5, meaning that you survived. But just for the sake of me and wanting to do something with all the dread that I accumulated,
Oh
dear
yeah,
audience,
please do.
I'm going
Please.
to do a little bit of a lot of things with this dread. So, you twist it and you feel water splattering your face as it's rushing in. You hear the cracking and breaking of other glass as it breaks through. Water rushes in, and you look down through like the graded steps of the spiral staircase, and you see the water flooding up, and you see those tendrils of slimy iridescence crawling up. And you're able to finally hear a satisfying turn. Like it's in place, and you're like, okay. I hope I did it right. I hope everything's put together. And you flick it on. Light is brilliant and beautiful and bright and glorious. And it floods your vision. And then you wake up. You take a really deep breath as you look up at your ceiling. You are drenched. It's like you look down at yourself as you look at your bed, and you look at your feet and everything's wet. And you look around. You're like, okay, the fuck? And then you hear a thunderous knocking at your front door.
Is it 9:30 or 9:45?
It's 9:30.
Not even bothering with the house coat.
He couldn't even wait till 9:45. He was out there pacing. You don't even bother. You go down. You open the door. You go fully open it, or do you like do the whole like side open thing?
I check the window, like sort of like just like make sure that outside of the window downstairs, like not the peephole, but like the window, like there's not water outside.
Mm-hmm.
And upon confirming that outside I am not underwater.
Yeah, it looks like it has always been. If anything, the day is beautiful, right? Like it's whoa.
And I just open the door all the way, like fully open.
Right. And you see Matt there with his suitcase, biggest grin on his face, probably bigger than he normally has, and his smile is huge. And he just gives you like the wrinkled eyes at the edges. Like, I see you've had the tea. Olive, this was weird. Weird as fuck. Um, you don't know what happened with that dream, and truly honestly, this town is kind of odd. You're not sure if it's odd in a way that you will be safe or just quirky in its own way. But you find yourself in a different way kind of traumatized by the events. How has what that night done to you? Like, you might have saved yourself, but by the skin of your teeth on that one, you're not entirely sure how everything worked. Tell me how you're feeling.
I think that sort of the the sheer loneliness of that struggle of being alone in the drowning lighthouse while something sort of encroaches on you sort of made Olive realize that this pulled away lifestyle is repeatedly re-traumatizing them, and sort of in the same vein of getting a health condition diagnosed late where you mourn all the time that you lost to that condition or to a mental health problem, etc. Sort of it's like that drowning and that water rushing in was their own grief that they had forced to the edges of their mind and kept outside of themselves, and having it sort of all come at them in that dream, really, or dream. They're not. They remain unsure if it was a dream at all, but it sort of reopened every wound that they didn't had put out of their mind, remembering that they had, and I think sort of almost the next opportunity that they have to talk to someone, whether it's Flora or Jane or whoever. Maybe not Jane. Jane seems like she's too happy to deal with all the stuff that Olive is holding. But the next time Flora stops by, Olive lets her know that they'll probably be looking for something else soon. That this was a wonderful time to meet her and the townsfolk here, but this isn't what Olive should be doing. And sort of opens up about everything that got them here, and realizing that this constant shifting of careers and shifting of spaces isn't healing. It's just putting on different band-aids over and over.
Okay. Oh man, that was really heavy. I felt that one very much. The next time Flora shows up is the day after. Things seem to be back to normal. Normal for this place. You don't really have dreams anymore. At least the next day you don't. If it is, it's dream of the ocean, maybe, but it's a normal dream about the ocean. And you wake up feeling normal in terms of how you wake up versus feeling like you're drained. You're still slow to get up. You still need your coffee in the morning, but you're not feeling like you've lost sleep, even though you are sleeping. Flora takes you out, going for a walk on the boardwalk. Everyone looks to you, stares at you the same way that they had been before, but there's a different weight in their gaze that you can't quite place. Still weird, still haunting. And you're like, you know what? I made up my mind, and you tell Flora that, like, hey, I think I'm gonna look for somewhere else. Flora pats you heavy-handed on the shoulder, and you just, oh. That's good to hear, darling. Like, I think you need to be surrounded by people that love you. Not saying that people around here don't, but family, friends, people you grew up with. Isolation can only do so much good.
Yeah. I am gonna miss you, though.
I'm gonna miss you too. And I really hope that you stick in touch. You have my number. Okay? And I travel all over the place. I'll come and see you. Or you can come see me. Either way.
And I promise I will make breakfast that is not just
All
chocolate
right.
chips on toast.
All right. I look forward to seeing that. Because if I'm coming to visit you, you better make an actual hearty breakfast for both of us.
I will make real food for both of us.
Thank you. And she suddenly shoves you into a hug. Just like bear hug, one arm, and you're like, what is this woman? It's like how you feel. And she gives you a hug, but you feel loved in that moment. You make the decision. You weren't sure what you were expecting from the townspeople. Especially Mira. But you only see Mira the next day after those events, and she seems relieved. She nods, and you're like, good. And then she leaves, and you don't see her ever again. You're hoping maybe when you were leaving? But no. You clear out the lighthouse. You are left with a lot of questions about it, but it doesn't really matter. You're getting out of here. You're going somewhere where you aren't alone anymore. Even if it's a gradual, like, getting closer with people again. At the top level, where the lighthouse, where you were, like, taking out the ball, putting it together, remember that dream so vividly. The water splashing against your back, the sound of something outside that groaned and moaned. That wasn't a dream, but you still remember waking up to see those pieces scattered. That ledger, that older, dustier ledger. You're packing and you're kind of like looking through, reminiscing now that you have the time. You're flipping through, someone took very neat notes of what was happening in the town. And you flip to the first page. It says across the front, ledger belongs to Mira. And that's where we're going to end, everybody. Thank you so much for this beautiful chapter, Chapter 8, When the Light Breaks. I've been your keeper, Ambrose, and our main character has been Olive or Rue. Tell people who you are, where can people find you, what are you up to?
Hello, I've been Rue, and thank you so much, Ambrose, for a wonderful game. You can find me on the internet most places as Ilana Knight, except for the site formerly known as Twitter, where I am Ilana Knight 13, because I made a Twitter when I was 12, lost the password, and cannot get my username back. So that's my life.
Oh man,
By
that
day,
hurts.
you can find me over at Paizo. I work as our marketing and media specialist. You can hang out with me on the Paizo forums if you want, I guess. But by all other times, I do freelance game design and sensitivity, and sometimes I do performance as well. So I just like to be around, and probably by the time this comes out, I will be prepping another trans bundle for next year. So
I
keep
think
an eye
so.
on
This
my.
this will probably be coming out. This chapter will be coming out November.
Yeah, then I will be
Okay.
prepping next year's trans bundle. So be on an eye, keep an eye on Twitter if you want to donate your games to support trans rights in
Please do.
Ohio.
Yes, yes, please. And yes, hey everybody, I'm Ambrose. It's your boy. I am the creative director and founder of Other Cider Studios. I am a award-winning TTRPG performer and have to remember storyteller. But yes, I am award-winning all of those things. Um, we are home to the award-nominated Arcane Core, the Arcane Core series. Hopefully, one of those things will be winning one day. Let's, let's hope. And yeah, you can follow me everywhere as SS Ambrose, except for Twitter and Instagram because those places hate me and I have to put an underscore at the end of those things. So yes, please follow me there. And thank you all for having me. So please stay tuned for the next chapter and the final chapter, which is chapter 9, The Crossroads. Stay tuned for that. And we'll see you on the other side. Bye.